Chapter 280. Just when the encirclement was less than 5 meters away from Lei Xingfeng, everyone tensed up and waited for Lei Xingfeng to fly out from the water. A large electric arc appeared and spread out in an instant, releasing electricity in the water. In an instant, all the black fishmen within a few hundred meters floated up. This attack caused all the black fishmen to fall unconscious. Lei Xingfeng did not kill them, but only stun them. He continued to rush forward while harvesting the black spirit fruits. Thunderstorm patted his head and said, "I'm such an idiot." Then, he smashed his head into the water. The grandfather-grandson duo's robbery had officially begun. Both of them released electricity. Their styles were completely different. Thunderstorm's electricity was to kill people. Black fishmen were electrocuted to death, while Lei Xingfeng's was to stun them. However, both of them were doing the same thing, which was to harvest the black spirit fruits. As long as their bodies passed by, the black spirit fruits would be swept clean. At this time, they did not have the time or energy to look for ripe black spirit fruits. Any black fishman who came close to them would either die or faint. There was no third consequence, not to mention entangling them. The black fishmen were not powerless. They tried their best to raise the black water in the lower layer, trying to trap the two. Every time this happened, Lei Xingfeng and Thunderstorm would jump out of the water, fly a distance in the air, and then jump back into the water. Like a big fish, they kept jumping out of the water. As more and more black fishmen gathered, the black spirit fruits in the paddy field had ripened. The densely packed black fishmen almost covered the entire paddy field of black spirit fruits. Soon, the two of them flew into the air. There was no other way. There was no place for them to fight unless they killed indiscriminately. However, killing was not their goal, so the grandfather-grandson duo was forced to come out of the water. In this short period of time, the two of them had gained a lot and were not interested in continuing. The others looked at the two of them enviously. In less than 20 minutes, the two of them had gained a lot. It should be more than all of them combined. This was a real robbery. The black bird circled down and landed on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. It said, "I'm so tired, Ka. I haven't flown for a long time. I can't fly anymore, Ka." Lei Xingfeng said, "It's because you're lazy." Yuko said, "All right, we can leave now. Let's go back and see what we've gained." Most of the cultivators who came to the Blackwater region knew that they could not kill all of the Blackwater people. Usually, after they succeeded, they would leave and would not continue to kill. To the cultivators, this was not beneficial at all. Looking at the churning water below and the whimpering of the Blackwater people, no one had the intention to continue staying here. The group flew towards Qingshui Island. After returning to Qingshui Island for 2 days, Lei Xingfeng had already finished organizing his harvest. This time, everyone split it equally. Because this was a teamwork, no matter how much one harvested, they had to take it out and distribute it. No cultivator would cheat on this point. Lei Xingfeng did the same. He took out all the black spirit fruits he had harvested. This amount was a little scary. Because he was robbing in a sweeping manner, he harvested both the stems and the fruits. When he took it out, it was a little scary. It was piled up into a small mountain. In the end, Lei Xingfeng received 100 top-quality black spirit fruits and a batch of normal black spirit fruits. However, he did not care. This time, he came to the Blackwater region to find Elder Thunderstorm. He felt that everything was worth it, as long as he could find Lei Xingyao. The family that had been separated for so long could finally be reunited. Qi Meiyan also harvested enough black spirit fruits. Adding on the extra fishman wine, she was very satisfied. This time, she brought along Lei Xingfeng, and the harvest was much better than she expected. These few days, Lei Xingfeng had been grinning. Whether it was doing work or chatting with others, he always had a smile on his face. Everyone knew that Lei Xingfeng was in a good mood. They liked to chat with him when they had nothing to do. No one liked a person with a straight face, so his good mood was contagious. Plus, the harvest this time was quite bountiful. Even if they could exchange for rings, they could exchange for a bunch of them. Of course, everyone was in a good mood. After distributing the black spirit fruits, the temporary team disbanded. They left their contact information. This cooperation allowed them to become friends with Lei Xingfeng and the others. Perhaps they could not reach the level of friends, but they could be considered acquaintances. If they met again in the future, there would be some friendship. This was also the most common way for cultivators to make friends. If they were satisfied with the first cooperation, then a second cooperation would be possible. After several cooperation, if they had a tacit understanding with each other, then it was very likely that they would become friends or even good friends. This was the invisible network of connections. The so-called experience and knowledge came from relying on friends. Because of Lei Xingfeng's powerful strength, those who knew him would generally acknowledge him. At least, they would not forget him immediately. If they met again in the future, then they would really be acquaintances. Lei Xingfeng had been with Thunderstorm for the past few days. The two had a lot of exchanges. In terms of cultivation, although Lei Xingfeng had a secret door and a lot of Star Python records, his actual cultivation experience was not as good as Thunderstorm's. This old man was also a shrewd character. The exchange between the two had a lot of benefits for each other. Even though Thunderstorm had a lot of experience and told Lei Xingfeng a lot of cultivation tips, Lei Xingfeng was not bad either. He also had a lot of experience to share with Thunderstorm. They were both Thunder attribute cultivators. This kind of exchange was very beneficial for their future cultivation. Lei Xingfeng also showed the Chaos Wheel to Hua Yi. This made Thunderstorm very excited. It was not that he did not have any ideas about a personal weapon. He had obtained a personal weapon in the last ancient hidden Luin. Unfortunately, it was not suitable for him. It was a fire tribute weapon, but it gave him a good idea. Using Lei Xingfeng's Chaos Wheel as a reference, his idea became clearer. However, it required a lot of experiments and a lot of materials. It was a pity that he was lacking in materials. This was the disadvantage of cultivating alone. It was very difficult for him to even go to the outer world. As for advancing to Monarch, Thunderstorm also had his own ideas. After all, he was already at the peak of 9th ring. Lei Xingfeng was also worried about Thunderstorm's advancement. He wholeheartedly hoped that Yi could become a monarch. If Thunderstorm became a monarch, he would have a personal outer world. If he was lucky, he would obtain an outer world rich in resources. This would be extremely beneficial to Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xingyao. Moreover, once Thunderstorm became a monarch, he could establish his own little secret sect. No matter how small his power was, it would still be a power. At the very least, it would be much stronger than those sections. Moreover, with the help of Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xingyao, his future would be very bright. After communicating with Thunderstorm, Lei Xingfeng also learned a lot of things that he didn't know before. For example, personal weapons, medicine, and resources. Thunderstorm had his own unique opinions and gave Lei Xingfeng a lot of inspiration. This kind of guidance was completely unreserved. Thunderstorm told Lei Xingfeng, Diangong Lightning Serum is definitely the most important thing for us lightning attribute people. If you have the chance to obtain it, you must collect as much as you can. It's just that this thing is too hard to obtain. Last time in the ancient hidden Luin, you obtained 2 balls of Diangong Lightning Serum. Do you still have the ball you collected? Lei Xingfeng said, I collected it in Lei Yin. I originally thought that it would be used up completely, but I didn't expect that there would still be a trace left. Afterwards, when I cultivated in thunderstorms, I could collect a bit each time. Now it's almost the amount of Diangong Lightning Serum. Thunderstorm was stunned and said, Lane, how was that possible? Lei Xingfeng said, Oh, I forgot to say, my Lei Yin was specially refined. It wasn't naturally formed. Thunderstorm was shocked. What? Lei Xingfeng explained in detail his Lei Yin and Lei Yin's characteristics. Thunderstorm was silent for a long time. His heart was in turmoil. This was a legendary method from ancient times. It had long been lost or abandoned by modern cultivators. It wasn't that this type of seal wasn't good, but that it was very difficult to collect the materials for this seal. Without the materials, could it be that one couldn't advance? Therefore, modern cultivators use their own Yinli to create attribute seals. This made it very difficult for modern cultivators to advance to Monarch. And with this type of specially made seal, when combined with one's own Yinli, this seal would be very useful when advancing to Monarch. The reason why there were so many monarchs in ancient times had a lot to do with this type of seal. Modern cultivators, if they didn't have the help of experts, sufficient preparation, and outstanding talent, it would be extremely difficult to advance to monarch. This was also the reason why there were so few hidden doors. Thunderstorm closed his eyes. After a while, he sighed. What a pity, what a pity. I didn't even think of making a layeen. What a pity. He couldn't help but shake his head. If he had made a layeen back then, his chances of advancing to monarch would have increased by at least 30%. With the Saint crystals that Lei Xingfeng gave him, advancing wouldn't have been difficult. Lei Xingfeng said, Yi, don't worry. Yao Yao and I will find the materials to support Ye's advancement. Thunderstorm habitually patted Lei Xingfeng's head and said, Good boy, I know. Lei Xingfeng said, I've already collected a portion of the materials, but I'm still missing a lot. Especially thunder-type materials. They're too hard to find. Thunderstorm said, I know. It's already very difficult for thunder-type cultivators to advance. If it wasn't for the fact that you accidentally found a shortcut to cultivating in a thunderstorm, I estimate that you would have already reached third ring sage. As for materials, it's even harder. Other than various metals and rare materials, you also need a lot of thunder-type materials. As far as I know, it would be best if you could find something from a thunderous star beast. Lei Xingfeng laughed bitterly. He knew what a thunderous star beast was, not to mention how hard it was to find one. Even if you found one, you wouldn't be able to defeat one. Blackbird suddenly said, Thunderous star beast? Hey, is he a brother? Lei Xingfeng said, Bullshit. Chapter 281. The Blackbird cackled. You're called Lei Xingfeng. Your sister is called Lei Xingyao. Cackle. Isn't that Thunderstar Beast your brother? Cackle. Lei Xingfeng raised his hand and hit, scolding. Are you itching for a beating again? Lousy will beat you up. The blackbird flapped its wings and flew up, being hit by Lei Xingfeng's lightning. Thunderstorm was amused and laughed. Aye, interesting bird, these words really make sense. Hee hee, Thunderstar Beast, Lei Xingfeng. Ha ha. Lei Xingfeng could not help but laugh, saying, Thunderstar Beast is really not something that ordinary people can deal with. The blackbird said, Wow, your brother is so powerful. Cackle. Wah. Lei Xingfeng casually raised his hand and shot out another lightning, hitting the blackbird until it spun around on the ground, twitching nonstop. Thunderstorm said, A phone, this bird has a cheap mouth. The blackbird was just about to talk back when Lei Xingfeng said, If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll make you never say it again. The blackbird cackled, saying, You want to kill the bird? Lei Xingfeng laughed. I won't kill you. I'll use a steel wire to tie your mouth up. The blackbird jumped back in fright, saying, You're bullying the bird again. Lei Xingfeng added another lightning. Only then did he grin at the blackbird, scaring the blackbird to roll and crawl to the side, repeatedly saying, Scared the bird to death, scared the bird to death. Jean Dial laughed. You've been beaten up every day and never shouted. Why are you shouting so fiercely today? The blackbird said, Cackle, you didn't see him. That appearance is really ugly, ugly, ugly. So ugly that it scared the bird to death. Jean Dial laughed. Mad Eagle kept shaking his head. This bird was too sarcastic. Tiger Love laughed. No wonder the old man said your mouth is cheap. It's really cheap. After absorbing the last lightning, the black bird became energetic again. It spread its wings and flew up, circling above Lei Xingfeng's head a few times, and then landed on his shoulder. Originally, Lei Xingfeng and Thunderstorm were quietly talking. Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love were following from a distance, and then they were pestered by the blackbird. In fact, it was just that the blackbird wanted to be beaten. It was like this every day. As long as Lei Xingfeng forgot to use lightning to strike it, the bird would tease until it was beaten, then it would be quiet. The blackbird snickered in its heart. A few times every day, it improved its cultivation quickly. Compared to when it first came to Lei Xingfeng, its strength had at least doubled. It estimated that if it met that stupid bird again, that is, the golden eagle, it should be able to deal with the opponent for a long time, and it would not be beaten to the point of running away. It would hurt the bird's self-esteem too much. After the three interjected a few words, they fell behind again. They wanted to make it easier for Lei Xingfeng and Thunderstorm to talk, as they knew that the two of them had been separated for many years and had a lot to talk about. Thunderstorm said, "Against the thunderstorm beast, even if the two of us are stronger, it is useless." The thunderstorm beast is naturally immune to lightning, which means that we have to find experts of other attributes to kill the thunderstorm beast. Lei Xingfeng laughed bitterly and said, "Don't even think about enlightened masters. Maybe only true monarchs can deal with the thunderstorm beast, or even heaven monarch experts. This is too difficult." Thunderstorm said, "If there's an ancient lightning attribute expert who left behind an ancient Lun treasure, perhaps this problem will be solved." Lei Xingfeng could not help but shake his head and said, "This is too far-fetched. It is not realistic at all. Not to mention the thunderstorm beast. Even thunderstorm beasts were extremely rare in the natural world. Maybe some outer world had them, but there were thousands of outer worlds, and many of them have been lost in the long river of history. They had lost their coordinates, and even if you had a secret door, you would not be able to go there. Maybe some outer world had them, but if you did not have the opportunity to go there, everything would be in vain. There was a place where one could easily find the thunderstorm beast, but one had to be at least a true monarch to be able to go there. If one was not a true monarch, one would not be able to go. That was the outer region of the universe, where true monarchs played. Lei Xingfeng did not know that the outer region of the universe was a place where true monarchs could barely go. Under Lei Xingfeng's persuasion, Thunderstorm decided to stay at Lei Xingfeng's place for a period of time. The main reason was that the pressure of upgrading materials was too great. As a lone cultivator with no one to rely on, Thunderstorm did not have the opportunity to go to the outer world. The materials for upgrading could not be found in this world, and had to be found in the outer world. This was also the real reason why there were almost no high-level enlightened masters in this world. Even enlightened masters like Jean Daya, who had been recruited by secret sects, would cooperate with the disciples of secret sects and go to the outer world. Most of them would not appear in this world. If Thunderstorm wanted to go to the outer world, he would have to pay a much higher price than Lei Xingfeng. He would also have to cooperate with others. Thunderstorm knew this very well, but he was helpless. This was the disadvantage of not joining a secret sect. Now that Lei Xingfeng was here, Thunderstorm could take the opportunity to go to the outer world. Since both of them were of the thunder attribute, the materials they needed were basically the same. Therefore, every time they went to the outer world, they only needed to collect 2 sets of materials, one for each person. This not only saved them a lot of trouble, but also increased Lei Xingfeng's strength with the addition of Thunderstorm. It had to be known that Lei Xingfeng, 3 9th ring Enlightened Masters, and a peak 9th ring Enlightened Master, Thunderstorm's strength was definitely stronger than Jean Daya and the others combined. The thunder attribute had always been domineering and could often challenge those of a higher rank. Of course, it was basically impossible for a peak 9th ring Enlightened Master to challenge a true monarch. This was a huge gap. True monarchs were a new starting point. The difference in strength was countless times greater than the difference between a mill-wheel master and a first ring Enlightened Master. Qi Meiyan was very satisfied with her trip this time. Because she had discovered a hidden wine store, she had obtained a large amount of Fishman wine. Among them, there were many top-quality Fishman wine that had been hidden for many years. It was the favorite of cultivators at the true monarch level. With just these top-quality Fishman wine, Qi Meiyan calculated that she would be able to obtain at least a few thousand yen rings. It could be said that she had struck it rich. Under normal circumstances, a trip to the outer world would cost around 100 yen rings. If one brought many people, it might cost a few hundred yen rings. The income would usually not exceed 1,000 yen rings. Only around 300 yen rings would actually fall into one's pocket. If one was lucky, they might be able to obtain around 500 yen rings. That would be a great harvest. Qi Meiyan hadn't received such a large reward since she was allowed to enter the outer world. She was very satisfied. After returning to Master Gucci's house through the secret door, Qi Meiyan exclaimed as soon as she came out, "Master, we got a lot of Fishman wine this time. It's even top-quality Fishman wine." Ancestor, why are you here?" Wu Yang smiled. "Little girl, why can't I be here?" Lei Xingfeng and the others had already returned through the secret door. This time, Thunderstorm had followed Lei Xingfeng back and directly entered Master's hidden space. Fortunately, he now had a lot of authority and could bring people back. Otherwise, it would have been very troublesome. He didn't want to be separated from Yi at all. Wu Yang saw Thunderstorm at a glance and said, "Who is this?" Thunderstorm immediately felt immense pressure. Lei Xingfeng saw that things weren't going well and immediately stood in front of him, saying, "Ancestor, this is me, Yi." Wu Yang immediately smiled, saying, "You're Yi? Ha, all right, all right." Lei Xingfeng didn't dare act rashly and hurriedly said, "Yi, this is my ancestor, and this is my master." Thunderstorm didn't dare to be arrogant. He knew that these two were senior experts. He bowed and said, "Thunderstorm, ninth ring sage." Wu Yang smiled. "Wu Yang." Gucci said, "Gucci, welcome to our secret door." Wu Yang said, "Haha, I knew it. As long as a phone goes to the outside world, there will always be good things. This time, there's top-quality Fishman wine. Not bad, not bad." Gucci's face also showed a happy expression, saying, "Who wants to exchange for rings? The Fishman wine is not bad, and it's top-quality Fishman wine. Who wants to take it out for me to see?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Master, it hasn't been divided yet. It's all in its original state. Let's wait for us to divide it before we take it out." Wu Yang smiled, saying, "What top quality? There are many types of top-quality Fishman wine." "Right. How did you get your hands on the Fishman wine? It's hard to find a place to hide it. Once it's discovered, the Blackfish people won't let you get your hands on it, even if they destroy it." Yuko chuckled and said, "There was once a large tribe of Blackfishmen that was completely wiped out by a true monarch. Hee, we started looking for a place to hide our wine. We thought, since the entire tribe was wiped out, their wine hiding place must still be there." Wu Yang was very interested, saying, "Who found the place?" Everyone's eyes immediately turned to Lei Xingfeng. Wu Yang clapped, saying, "As expected, haha, as expected. A Feng's luck is unparalleled." Gucci smiled bitterly and shook his head. He knew the secret of the Blackfish people's wine hiding place. With such a large place, it was impossible to know where the Blackfish people would hide the wine. Lei Xingfeng laughed dryly, saying, "Haha, I just happened to find it." Wu Yang laughed, saying, "Why didn't I find it? All these good things are yours. I'm jealous." Hearing this, everyone was dumbfounded. This ancestral master was also acting cute. Lei Xingfeng could only change the topic, saying, "Ancestral master, I found a type of wine in the wine hiding place. I wonder if ancestral master has seen it before?" Wu Yang said with great interest, "Oh, what kind of wine can surprise a phone? Take it out and let us see." Lei Xingfeng took out a wooden barrel made of black wood that was as tall as a person and placed it on the ground. Wu Yang praised, "A wooden barrel made of black wood. You really know how to hide wine. Using this to hide wine is better than anything else." Lei Xingfeng explained, "The last time I went to the outer world, there was a large forest made of black wood. Haha, I deliberately cut down a lot of it. Many of them were hundreds or even thousands of years old. It's best to use them to make decorations." As he spoke, he opened the lid of the wooden barrel. He reached out and pulled out a large string of wine. The wine was as red as blood. Wu Yang and Gucci were so shocked that their mouths fell open. The two of them looked at each other with joy. Chapter 282. Bloodfish Wine. Wu Yang and Gucci both cried out at the same time. This wine was too rare, and it wasn't just a food, but a special ingredient that could be used to concoct medicine, and high-level medicine at that. This wine was extremely rare. It was said that unless one excavated a large wine cellar of the Blackfish people, it would be impossible to obtain it. This was because even the Blackfish people would not take out this wine to drink. This wine was the first batch of wine when a wine cellar was built. It was used to suppress the entire wine cellar. Wu Yang said happily, "Good stuff, good stuff. Sell it to me." Gucci said, "Sell me some too." Lei Xingfeng had always been generous to his master and founder. He said, "No need to buy it. I'll show my respect to founder and master." Wu Yang said, "I don't need you to give it to me this time. Founder can't keep taking advantage of you like this. How about this? A wine bubble for 100 rings. I'll take advantage of you a little, haha." This price was neither high nor low, but bloodfish wine was very rare. Even if you had rings, you wouldn't be able to buy it. Lei Xingfeng nodded, all right. He knew that the founder was doing this for others to see. Gucci smiled. I'll also exchange 100 rings for a wine bubble. Lei Xingfeng said, how many do you want? In this large wooden barrel, there were about 26 wine bubbles. Only now did he know that these bunches of grape-like ball-shaped wine were called wine bubbles. Sure enough, each ball-shaped wine was a wine bubble. All 26 wine bubbles were exchanged for rings. Lei Xingfeng didn't just get one string of bloodfish wine, so he exchanged all of them for rings. He knew that the founder and master liked it, so he didn't hold back. He exchanged the entire barrel and wine bubbles. Wu Yang and Gucci discovered that there was black mud in the barrel. This was also a material used to concoct medicine, and could only be found in ancient wine cellars. Even if it wasn't used to concoct medicine, this black mud was still the best base for top-grade wine. As long as there was black mud around the wine bubbles, the quality of the wine would slowly increase. This time, the two didn't hold back and directly took the black barrel, including the black mud inside. Wu Yang beamed. Let me remind everyone, if you bring a Feng out in the future, you'll definitely find a lot. Haha, in such a short time, he found countless good things. His luck is unbeatable. Gucci shook his head. I know many people, but I've never met someone as lucky as a Feng. Every time, his luck. Lei Xingfeng laughed. All right, if you guys don't go out in the future, just bring me along, haha. This was the first time Yuko had seen Lei Xingfeng's miraculous abilities. This time, he had earned a lot. Even if he didn't count the black spirit fruit, he could exchange it for a large amount of rings. Even if he exchanged one ring for one bubble, he could still get over 10,000 rings. Of course, it would take time to sell the Fishman wine. No sage would buy so much Fishman wine. I don't know about others, but if I want to find materials again, I'll definitely bring a phone with me. Yuko laughed, then added, Who told me to be the eldest senior brother? It's my responsibility to bring my junior brothers and sisters. His words were a bit fake, but no one would expose him. After all, he was the eldest senior brother. Everyone would give him face. Xi and Jiaoluan and Qi Meiyan both said that they would bring Lei Xingfeng with them when they went out in the future. This wasn't bringing a person, it was bringing a god of wealth. How could they ignore the fact that they were getting rich every time? Lei Xingfeng laughed. Even if I don't go, you guys can still find it. Yuko patted Lei Xingfeng's shoulder, saying, That's not the same. The patting made the black bird stick its head out of its wings. It said, Hey, he's beating you up. Caw! Yuko awkwardly put down his hand, saying, Stupid bird, don't talk nonsense. The black bird was furious. It liked to scold other birds as stupid birds, but hated to scold itself as a stupid bird. It shouted, Birdman, you are a stupid bird. You are an ugly, stupid bird without wings. Wu Yang and Gucci froze, then burst into laughter. Yuko's face turned red. He said, Lei Xingfeng saw that Yuko was about to fly into a rage. He said, Bird beaut, shut up. Then he said, Eldest senior brother, don't get angry with a bird. Haha, it likes to talk nonsense. Actually, it probably doesn't even know what it's talking about. The blackbird's little head tilted up, and its sharp beak was tilted 45 degrees to the sky. It looked like it didn't care. Everyone laughed. This blackbird was about to become a spirit. Wu Yang laughed and shook his head, saying, Little Yuko, don't provoke this bird. If you really want to scold it, you might not be its opponent. Ha ha ha. Yuko laughed awkwardly. He was the eldest senior brother. He couldn't even fight back after being scolded by a bird. If he did, he wouldn't have any face left. He said, I won't lower myself to its level. Everyone couldn't help but laugh again. Yuko was helpless. If Wu Yang and Gucci weren't here, he might still be able to put on airs as the eldest senior brother. But with the ancestor and master here, he couldn't put on airs no matter what. Lei Xingfeng said, Eldest senior brother, don't be offended. Bird Beauty has always been like this, haha. Yuko said helplessly, Forget it. Let's not get angry with a bird. The blackbird caught a few times, but didn't scold him again. It was extremely cunning and knew not to push it. Sometimes, Even Lei Xingfeng felt that this guy wasn't a bird, but a person. Everyone dispersed. Lei Xingfeng brought Elder Thunderstorm home. If a disciple of a secret sect didn't have enough yin rings, they wouldn't be able to maintain their power. This required Xian Feng to work hard to earn money, to work hard to accumulate materials, all for the sole purpose of increasing his strength. In this world, increasing one's strength was the only way to gain a foothold. Unless they lost all hope of advancing, every practitioner would do their best to fight for it. Lei Xingfeng continued to cultivate every day. Even if there wasn't a thunderstorm, he didn't dare to slack off. During his free time, he would discuss matters of cultivation with Elder Thunderstorm. They exchanged ideas and helped each other. During this time, although his strength didn't increase by much, he had solidified his foundation. Lei Xingfeng also brought Elder Thunderstorm to Feng Qinzong's outer world. They rested there for 10 days before returning. Out of respect for Lei Xingfeng, everyone in the hidden space would call Elder Thunderstorm Elder whenever they saw him. Of course, Master and Founder were an exception. Today, Jean Depang prepared a table full of food. Lei Xingfeng, Thunderstorm, Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love sat together to eat. Mad Eagle even brought out some fishman wine. The group ate, drank, and chatted. Lei Xingfeng sat on a chair and lazily took a sip of fishman wine. Uncle Jean, you went out recently. Any news? Jean Dia took a sip of wine and smiled. I heard some news. Thunderstorm asked, what is it? Jean Dia laughed. The Great Battle of Dragon Mountain took place in Hui Continent. 2 secret sects fought in a remote place like Dragon Mountain. They gambled. Hee. Many ninth ring sages died. Lei Xingfeng ate a mouthful of beef and took a sip of wine. Why did they fight? Jean Dia said, I don't know the details, but I heard that they started a feud in the outer world. It was originally a fight between direct disciples, but it ended up provoking the sects of both sides. They couldn't resolve it, so they had to fight. Chapter 283. Mad Eagle asked curiously, what kind of bet? Jean Dia's expression turned serious. Guards fight one by one. The loser gets 100 yin rings, and they can fight by any means necessary. If one side admits defeat or dies, they'll lose. Lei Xingfeng sucked in a breath of cold air. Heavens, how many guard died? Jean Dia said, I heard that a dozen ninth ring sages died. They fought until both sides couldn't take it anymore and had to stop. Ninth ring sages were the middle power in the hidden sects. Every hidden sect trained ninth ring sages with all their might. If they went to the outside world, ninth ring sages were the main force. If a hidden sect lost a large number of ninth ring sages, it would have a negative impact on the hidden sect. Lei Xingfeng said, maybe they found something good. Jean Dia said, no, it's because of a woman. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. This was the first time he'd heard that cultivators could be jealous. He said, unbelievable. Mad Eagle said, what kind of woman can cause a fight between 2 hidden sects? She's amazing. Blackbird suddenly said, why did you call me? I'm not a woman. Mad Eagle said, who called you? Blackbird said, you called me. Didn't you say it was a woman bird, Bude? Lei Xingfeng laughed. Haven't you seen a bird crawling into a trap? Bird Bude, you're too sensitive. Mad Eagle was speechless. After a while, he said, all right, Bird Bude, you're really narcissistic. Ishael came in and said, Second Master is here. Xian Zhaoluan walked in. Haha, everyone's here. Even the old man. Xian Feng stood up and spoke. Second senior brother, come sit. Hee. Fatty made a table full of dishes, come and eat. Xian Zhaoluan didn't refuse. He sat down beside Thunderstorm. What are you talking about? It's so lively. Jean Dia said, it said that there was a great battle at Dragon Mountain between 2 secret sections. Xian Zhaoluan said, I know about this. 2 foolish disciples were fooled by a woman. Before anything happened, they started fighting among themselves. Not only that, they also implicated the sect. Dozens of guards and retainers were killed or injured. It became a joke. Jean Dia said, that woman should also be from the hidden sect, right? Xian Zhaoluan nodded. That's right, and it has something to do with the phone. Lei Xingfeng was baffled. What does that have to do with me? Xian Jiaoluan smiled and said, "That woman is from your little sister's sect. She should be your little sister's senior or junior martial sister." Lei Xingfeng said, "No wonder. Yao Yao's sect is very powerful. If we can have a marriage alliance, the benefits will be limitless." Lei Xian Yao's sect was an extremely famous secret sect for concocting medicines. Among the secret sects, they were extremely famous. Their medicines, not counting the low-level ones, high-level ones were targeted at experts above the monarch level. Their influence was too great. Therefore, in order to fight for this opportunity, it was normal for the two sects to fight. Lei Xingfeng said, "No wonder. I was wondering why a monarch would come out for a woman. So this is the reason." Thunderstorm shook his head and said, "The hidden sects are really powerful. They can easily kill a group of ninth ring sages. But a hidden sect like this can also kill experts. It's better to be in a large sect or be alone and be free." Xian Jiaoluan smiled and said, "Old man, it's normal. Even if the hidden sects have no power, they are still stronger than the large sections. The truly powerful ninth ring sages will be fought over by the hidden sects. Although a person is free, it's hard to go to the outside world. The hidden sects are controlled by the monarchs. If an outsider wants to use them, not only will they need to be introduced, they will also need to pay a large sum of yen rings. It's not worth it." Thunderstorm said, I know. He sounded a little depressed. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, Yi, don't be sad. You still have me and Yao Yao in the hidden sects. Yi, you don't have to worry." Thunderstorm nodded and said, "Actually, I've thought about joining the hidden sects, but I was afraid of losing my freedom and not being able to find a Feng and Yao Yao. But seeing the two of them become direct disciples of the hidden sects, I'm relieved." Jean Depang smiled and said, "Old man, what do you think of the hidden sects?" Thunderstorm had a good impression of Jean Depang. Most importantly, Jean Depang was very good at eating and talking. During the time they were in Lei Xingfeng's residence, this guy had tried his best to please him. Plus, the two had known each other in Shirong land, so their relationship was quite good. Lei Bao said, "Fatty, this is indeed a good place. Cultivating here is better than other places. But it's not very suitable for me." Lei Xingfeng, of course, understood. As a thunder cultivator, it was best to get close to or directly rush into a thunderstorm when cultivating. Only by experiencing the baptism of natural lightning could they improve quickly. Thunderstorm didn't need lightning to cultivate. He had already reached the peak of the ninth ring sage body. No matter how he cultivated, he wouldn't be able to improve anymore. However, he now knew that he still needed to go to a rainstorm to collect the thunderstorm serum. After listening to Lei Xingfeng's explanation, Thunderstorm understood that the thunderstorm serum was naturally present in lightning. It just needed to be condensed. With Old Man Thunderstorm's methods, he could barely do it. More importantly, he had a ball of thunderstorm serum as the main body, so it was easier to collect and condense the thunderstorm serum. Jean Depang laughed. "I don't know about other things, but I know that this is definitely a good place to eat, haha." Jean Dia laughed and scolded. "You glutton! When you have nothing to do, you should think about cultivation. Don't always think about eating. Look at you, what have you become?" Everyone laughed. Ever since Jean Depang came here, his weight had increased by at least 30%. He was so fat that his eyes were about to disappear. Jean Depang didn't care. Jean Dia would occasionally scold him, but he always listened respectfully and never corrected himself. Jean Dia also knew that he couldn't persuade him. He shook his head and sighed a few times. Forget it, he chose his own path. Even when Jean Depang was an official in Shirong Nation, he still treated his barracks as a big kitchen. Now that he had more resources to use, he naturally wouldn't give up his only hobby. Just like Tung Yuan, Jean Depang's life in the hidden sect was incomparably comfortable, especially since the hidden sect allowed him to go to the outer world. There were all kinds of outer worlds with all kinds of ingredients. This allowed him to experiment with all kinds of delicious food and snacks together with the glutton Tung Yuan. In Lei Xingfeng's residence, Jean Depang's position was definitely very high. It was almost the same as Ashal's. In Lei Xingfeng's residence, He was the person in charge of eating and distributing the food. In Lei Xingfeng's residence, the person in charge was Ishanel. The retainers didn't have much power, and it was just a place for them to retire. Moreover, the 4 retainers usually didn't need them. Next were Jean Dia, Mad Eagle, and Tiger Love. These 3 were Lei Xingfeng's main helpers. As for the other guards, they were mostly distributed by Lei Xingfeng. Hong Chun, Shi Quan, and the others who were recruited later were all cultivating with all their might. Lei Xingfeng provided them with large amounts of Luan rings, Luanine rings, and even Yin rings, allowing them to quickly improve. Only when they reached 6 ring true bodies would they have the chance to go out and complete missions. Therefore, they couldn't count on it at the moment. The benefits of being in the hidden sect were that there was space, money, and resources for cultivation. There was also a powerful sect that could protect one's safety. In addition, one could go to the outer world and search for all kinds of resources. Lei Xingfeng's power was already starting to take shape. Although it was still very weak, it was already much stronger than him alone. There were many things that he could order his subordinates to do. He didn't have to work so hard himself, saving him a lot of time and energy. Thunderstorm was very satisfied. He never thought that Lei Xingfeng had already reached 9 ring true bodies, the same height as himself. He also didn't think that Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xingyao had both entered the hidden sect and started to train their own subordinates. He sighed in his heart and made an important decision to help Lei Xingfeng grow. He believed that with his help, Lei Xingfeng's growth would be even faster and better. A servant ran in and reported, "Old Ancestor is here." In Gucci's hidden sect, all the servants addressed Wu Yang as Old Ancestor. Only the disciples were allowed to address him as Old Ancestor. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. It was rare for the Old Ancestor to come to a 3rd-generation disciple's residence. He hurriedly stood up, and the others followed suit. In this place, Wu Yang was the true overlord. Before they reached the entrance, they saw Wu Yang and Gucci walk in. Everyone stepped forward and bowed. Wu Yang waved his hand and said, all right. Where did all these gifts come from?" Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, "Master, Old Ancestor, please come and sit." A group of servants immediately tidied up the table. Jean Depeng hurriedly ran back to the kitchen. Wu Yang and Gucci had arrived. No matter what, he had to show off. He couldn't do anything else, but the food depended on his performance. After bustling around for a while, everyone sat down. Wu Yang said with a smile, "Not bad. A table full of food. Hee, your life is better than mine." Ha. Old man Thunderstorm sat to the side. Although he respected Wu Yang and Gucci very much, the gap between his strength and theirs was too big. Therefore, he rarely spoke and sat to the side, quietly listening. Soon, Jean Depeng led a large group of servants to a new table of food. All kinds of delicacies were piled up on the table. He even took out several bottles of Murloc wine. Ever since he had Murloc wine, he realized that other wines were trash. They couldn't be compared at all. Wu Yang said with a smile, "The little guy is not bad. He made such a table full of delicious food in such a short time." Gucci said, "Hee, the little guy is about the same as Tang Yuan. They both like to eat." Exangeloan asked curiously, "Ancestral Master, why do you have time to visit a phone?" He was really curious. He knew more than Lei Xingfeng how busy these 2 elders were. Gucci glared and said, "Can't I come to visit a phone?" Exangeloan was shocked and hurriedly said, "How would this disciple dare?" In fact, Lei Xingfeng was even more curious. One of them might come to visit him, but 2 of them coming together definitely wouldn't be so simple. He said with a smile, "Master, this disciple is flattered. Are you really just here to visit this disciple?" Gucci patted him with a smile and said, "Little rascal, I knew you would say that. Hee, Ancestral Master has something to talk to you about." Lei Xingfeng said, "What is it? Why did you 2 elders come together?" Wu Yang said indifferently, "The outer space." Chapter 284. Outer Space. What did that mean? Wu Yang laughed. "I'm going to take a phone to the outer space." Everyone was shocked. They all understood that the outer space was not a place a 9th ring sage could go. Those who could go there had to be at least monarchs. Even monarchs weren't strong enough. Lei Xingfeng pointed at his own nose. After a while, he said, Me? Go to the outer space? Ancestor, are you sure you're not mistaken? Wu Yang grinned. I'm not mistaken. There are 4 spots this time. Hee, I've decided to give you one. Lei Xingfeng scratched his head. 4 spots. Gucci explained. Your ancestor, me, and Feng Qinzong. Ancestor insisted on giving the last spot to you. Lei Xingfeng could understand giving Feng Qinzong a spot. After all, he had become a monarch. It was necessary for him to see the outer space. But Lei Xingfeng didn't understand. One would get a spot. One had to know that he was only a 9th ring sage. Going to outer space was just courting death. Lei Xingfeng didn't understand. Wu Yang said, 1 spot costs 20,000 yin rings, or an item or material of equivalent value. Everyone was shocked. 20,000 yin rings? That was comparable to the wealth of most disciples. Lei Xingfeng had been busy for so long. Other than the 20,000 yin rings given to him by the little rich woman, Lei Xingfeng didn't have many yin rings. According to his logic, he would keep the materials he obtained as long as possible. He would never trade them for yin rings. If he needed other materials, he wouldn't trade them for materials if he could buy them with yin rings. Because of this, Lei Xingfeng didn't have many yin rings. Hearing that 1 spot cost 20,000 yin rings, he was shocked. 20,000 yin rings. Just give it to me. As for the outer space, whoever wants to go can go. Oh, what a pity. What a waste. Wu Yang said, A phone, what do you think? Lei Xingfeng was curious as well. What kind of place was the outer realm? It required 20,000 yin rings to get there. This was ridiculous. He said, Didn't they say that 9th ring sages couldn't go to the outer realm? If you go, you'll be courting death. I think it was you who said that, patriarch. Wu Yang said, Nonsense. With your level, of course you won't survive if you fight. But I'm asking you to go, not to fight. If you don't fight, you won't die so easily. Besides, I'm taking you there, so I have to be responsible for your safety. Lei Xingfeng was really puzzled and asked, Grandmaster, why do you want to take me there? He didn't bring any of the other direct disciples, only him. He couldn't even bring his guards. He couldn't understand this at all. Gucci said, Let me do it. Wu Yang nodded and said, All right, you do it. Huh. Gucci said, A phone, your grandmaster and I have seen how many times you've gone to the outer realm. Ha, little guy, your luck is just too good. It's so good that you're grandmaster and I can't believe it. You should know that while the outer realm is extremely dangerous, it's also a huge treasure trove. There are countless resources and high-quality materials. Lei Xingfeng immediately understood that this was a disaster caused by luck. It wasn't really a disaster, it was an opportunity. Not only could he get materials, but he could also curry favor with his grandmaster and master. He said, Grandmaster, master, you want to get share of the glory too? No problem, I'll go. Ha, but Wu Yang looked at Lei Xingfeng, amused. He said, But what? Just say it. Lei Xingfeng said, But these yin rings, I can't afford it. Where do I find 20,000 yin rings? Wu Yang laughed loudly. Don't worry, I, your master, and junior uncle will pay for these yin rings. You don't need to pay for them. Also, you get to share the materials we find. Lei Xingfeng said without hesitation, Then there's no problem. If he didn't agree to such a good deal, he'd be stupid. It was common knowledge that one couldn't go to the outer realm before becoming a monarch. However, this didn't mean that Lei Xingfeng couldn't go. If he had a monarch to protect him, going to the outer realm wasn't impossible. Thunderstorm didn't stop Lei Xingfeng from going to the outer realm. He knew that a cultivator's opportunities were limited. If he could go to the outer realm, even if there weren't many benefits, he could still expand his knowledge and experience. Plus, with Wu Yang's guarantee, the benefits of going were much greater than not going. Lei Xingfeng said to Blackbird, Buddha, the place we're going to is very dangerous. You should stay at home. Buddha stared with his red eyes. I'm going too. If you're not afraid, why would this bird be afraid? Lei Xingfeng said, Holy shit, am I that bad? What do you mean you're not afraid? Blackbird said, I'm Buddha. Lei Xingfeng laughed bitterly. Up to you. If you go to the outer realm and die, It's none of my business. Blackbird said, unless you die first. Otherwise, this bird will be fine. Everyone chuckled. Having an extra bird was different from having an extra person. They could bring Blackbird, but they couldn't bring anyone else. Blackbird and Lei Xingfeng together could be considered one person, so they didn't need an extra ring. Wu Yang said, the outer realm is indeed very dangerous. Burbuda, it's fine if you want to go, but just don't move around. Burbuda didn't care about anyone except for Wu Yang and Gucci. He was actually very afraid of the two. He said, yes, and didn't say another word. Everyone was a little curious. One had to know that once the blackbird opened its mouth, it was a chatterbox. Moreover, the words it said were sharp and mean. There was almost nothing good to say. However, it was a bird. No one would really argue with a bird. Wu Yang said, a phone, get ready. Come to my place tomorrow. Lei Xingfeng nodded. Yes, founder. I will definitely be there tomorrow morning. Wu Yang said, this time, I might have to rely on your luck. Haha, I hope I can get some good luck. Lei Xingfeng was nervous. He said, this time, we're going to the outer realm to look for materials? Or, Wu Yang said, it's mainly to look for materials. Nothing else. Lei Xingfeng immediately breathed a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't a battle, then everything was fine. He was the best at finding materials. With just his eyes, he believed that even if Wu Yang was a heavenly monarch, he might not be able to compete with him. He was already very confident in this point. Lei Xingfeng smiled. Founder, there's no problem. We will definitely have good luck. Wu Yang and Gucci ate a little and left Lei Xingfeng's residence. With the two of them here, everyone felt uncomfortable. Lei Xingfeng sent the two of them off and sat down at the table. A group of people began to congratulate him. It was rare to be able to go out with the founder and master, even if it was a direct descendant. This was not only an opportunity, but also a great honor. It represented a rise in status. Xi and Jialuan smiled and said, the outer realm. I have never been there. A phone. I am very jealous. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, why don't you go instead? Xi and Jialuan said, Sai, how is that possible? All right, this time, all the experts in the family are going. We have to wait in the secret chamber. With the 4 super experts leaving the secret chamber, the strength of the entire secret chamber decreased. Lei Xingfeng sighed and said, I have always thought that our family is the strongest. Now it seems that it is far from enough. There are too few monarchs. Xi and Jialuan said, you should be content. Our secret chamber is already very strong. You must be joking. A normal secret chamber only has 1 or 2 monarchs. We have a heaven monarch's secret chamber. Lei Xingfeng said, but my little sister's secret chamber has a Dao monarch. That is the truly powerful secret chamber. Xi and Jialuan said, that is not the same. Your little sister's guards are all monarchs. Just hearing about it is enough to scare me to death. Thunderstorm had never seen Lei Xingyao's secret chamber. This was the first time he heard that Lei Xingyao's guards were monarchs. He was shocked and said, a phone, Yao Yao's guards are monarchs? Did I hear wrongly? Lei Xingfeng said, Yi, you didn't hear wrongly. Yan Shaoqing's grandmother is a monarch expert. She is the captain of the secret chamber's guards. Thunderstorm was completely speechless. How powerful must this secret chamber be to have such a guard? Monarchs were experts who could create secret sections. Monarchs could condense rings and cultivate a group of 9th ring true body experts. For them to become Xi and Yao's bodyguards was simply inconceivable. Xi said enviously, this kind of secret chamber is the truly powerful one. Jean Dias said, I heard that Yan Shaoqing's talent is very average. I didn't expect her to become a monarch. She is so brave. Ascending from 9th ring to monarch was extremely dangerous. With Yan Shaoqing's talent, it was easy to imagine how many resources he had to use to successfully ascend. Other things aside, just rings alone were much more than what a normal monarch would use. The other materials were also countless, the most important of which was medicine. A bottle of shifting glory medicine wasn't just about gathering the materials, but also refining it. The shifting glory medicine that Yin Shaoqing used must have been personally refined by Luo Yeruo. With the methods of a Tao monarch, the effects of the medicine refined would be completely different. Lei Xingfeng said, "This must be a coincidence. I'm guessing." Yin Shaoqing's grandmother must have used some kind of reason to risk her life to advance. She must have been prepared to die. Instead, she obtained a sliver of hope and succeeded in the end. Therefore, her advancement wasn't inevitable. She was just lucky. She shouldn't be a role model for others. Xian Jialuan said, "That's right. It must have been a coincidence." However, to be able to take out so many materials and yin rings and let someone with no hope of advancing experiment, I can only say that they are too rich. Jean Dias said, "I've always thought that our secret chambers were already very rich. But compared to their secret chambers, it can't be compared at all." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "That's because they can produce medicine. That thing is much more valuable than yin rings." Xian Jialuan said, "That's right. There are very few secret chambers that can produce medicine, especially those that have Tao monarchs. It's no wonder that the founder values them so much." Chapter 285. What they didn't know was that Wu Yang attached great importance to Luo Yeruo's secret sect. Luo Yeruo had to personally concoct the medicine for him to become a Tao monarch. Once it was successful, his chances of advancing would be high. If he didn't have the help of the medicine, advancing would be difficult. Therefore, he attached great importance to the relationship between Lei Xingfeng and Lei Xinyao. With the little girl around, Luo Yeruo would pay more attention to them. Lei Xingfeng said, "We'll all need medicine in the future. But with little sister there, at least if we want to buy medicine, it should be cheaper." Mad Eagle said, "It's not just cheaper, it might even be free." Jean Dias said, "You can't give it away for free. You could take advantage of it, but not too much. It'll make things difficult for the little girl." Mad Eagle laughed. "I don't have the idea of taking it for free. Hee hee, as long as there's medicine, it's already very lucky to be able to trade for it. Some people might not even be able to trade for medicine, even if they have yin rings." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "That's right. According to Little Sister, many people who need medicine have to change hands several times before they can get it from her secret sect. The price is so high that it makes people want to vomit blood. Hee hee, we don't need it. We could just buy the first batch. Also, Little Sister said that we can sell the medicine she makes as long as we find more materials. Yes, her sect will buy the materials, and the price will be higher than outside." Xian Jialuan hurriedly said, "Count me in. I want it too." No one could stay calm about such a good thing. Buying medicine on behalf of others could earn them yin rings, and collecting materials was their biggest task now. With Lei Xinyao's sect strength, even if the price was raised a little, the accumulation would be terrifying. This was an excellent way to make money. Thunderstorm watched with a smile. He had already experienced the benefits of the hidden door. Thinking about the path he had taken, he couldn't help but sigh. If he had entered the hidden door earlier, he might have already become a true monarch. His aptitude wasn't bad. If he had relied on his own strength to cultivate, he estimated that he could cultivate to the 8th ring in his lifetime. Reaching the 9th ring would be very difficult. Of course, this was excluding the fact that he could cultivate quickly in natural lightning. With this aptitude, Thunderstorm had a 30% chance of advancing. After all, he didn't use the yin ring to cultivate. Once he started cultivating, he basically had no chance of advancing. His chances of advancing were about the same as Feng Chenzong's. The two of them were about the same level, but Thunderstorm had Saint Crystals, and Lei Xian Yao would definitely get him a shifting glory potion. In that case, Thunderstorm would have no problem advancing, unless some unknown factor appeared. According to the current situation, Lei Bao's only problem in leveling up was that he lacked the materials and yin rings. Everything else was fine. However, with Xian Feng and Xian Yao's help, if the old man Lei Bao wanted to level up, it wouldn't be a difficult thing. It was just that he didn't realize that as long as he found his grandson and granddaughter, he would be able to level up. Lei Xingfeng thought that if Yi could advance to true monarch, he would encourage Yi to join the hidden door. He believed that founder Wu Yang wouldn't refuse. If one didn't know the ins and outs of a true monarch, it would be extremely difficult to join a hidden door. But Lei Xingfeng was different. Not only was he a direct descendant of a hidden door, he also had a little sister in a powerful hidden door. Wu Yang obviously knew about Thunderstorm's background. So if Thunderstorm advanced, joining Wu Yang's hidden door and becoming Wu Yang's disciple wouldn't be difficult. Lei Xingfeng said, "Ah Yi, if you advance, join our hidden door." Thunderstorm smiled faintly and said, "I won't think about it for now. I'll think about it after I advance. Haha, maybe I won't be able to advance at all, or maybe I'll die during the advancement. A phone, it's too early to think about this." Lei Xingfeng nodded. He knew that Yi didn't want him to worry, so he said this. He said, "Yi, you'll definitely advance. Don't worry." Thunderstorm smiled bitterly. He knew himself best. If he hadn't been seriously injured the first time, he would have been very confident in advancing to True Monarch. But he was someone who had been seriously injured for a long time and almost died. Because of a coincidence, he comprehended the mysteries of natural lightning and started cultivating again. So even if he reached the peak of 9th ring, he still lacked confidence. "I hope so." His answer was very unconfident. Lei Xingfeng said, Yi, rest assured and cultivate at home." Then he said to Xian Zhaoluan, second senior brother, "Help me take care of Yi." Xian Zhaoluan said without hesitation, "No problem. Old Master's business is my business." Thunderstorm smiled and said, "It's okay. I'm a lightning-type 9th ring sage, after all. Not everyone can deal with me. Yi isn't that weak." Lei Xingfeng said, "Of course. Yi is very powerful." Xian Zhaoluan looked at Lei Xingfeng flattering him and smiled. Old Master can definitely do it. He also flattered him. Flattering Thunderstorm was equivalent to flattering Lei Xingfeng. Although he was the second senior brother, he also had to flatter Lei Xingfeng. He was not stupid. Lei Xingfeng's potential was gradually revealed. His future was definitely bright. It was very important to build a good relationship with him at this time. Thunderstorm smiled. He had a good impression of Lei Xingfeng's sect. However, he was used to being alone. When it came to dealing with people, he was not as good as Lei Xingfeng. Lei Bao couldn't be blamed. The old man had spent his whole life wandering around the area and hadn't seen many high-level true masters. Only after entering the secret sect did he realize that there were countless experts with 8 or 9 true ring bodies. Xian Feng alone had 3 9th ring true masters, and one of the managers was also a 9th ring true master. This was something he didn't even dare to think about before. As someone who was used to being an elder, to suddenly find so many people who were on the same level as him, his confidence couldn't help but take a hit. Thunderstorm said, "Let's hope it goes smoothly." He did not say anything else. Lei Xingfeng said, Yi, I've already sent people to little sister's hidden sect. Once she comes out, go pick her up and play with her. We'll talk when I come back." Thunderstorm nodded. "You have to be careful when you go out this time." The next morning, Lei Xingfeng left his residence early and went to Wu Yang's place. There was already a waiter waiting at the door. Lei Xingfeng followed him into Wu Yang's room. Other than the waiter, there was only Wu Yang, Guqi, and Feng Qinzong in the room. Seeing Lei Xingfeng come in, Feng Qinzong smiled. "Well, Feng, you're the latest." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "It's already very early. Who usually wakes up so early?" Guqi said, "All right, the reason why it's so early is because it's not just the 4 of us going this time. We have to leave the hidden sect space and go outside first." Wu Yang said, "Yes, there are a total of 10 people going. We'll take up 4 of the spots." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Are all the people going monarchs?" Wu Yang smiled. "Yes, the lowest is monarch. You're the only 9th ring sage. Haha, don't worry. With me protecting you, there won't be any problems." The 4 of them left the hidden sect and went directly to a small town through Wu Yang's hidden sect. Lei Xingfeng looked around curiously. This was a very large hidden sect space. There were mountains and rivers. At a glance, it was not much different from the natural world. Along the way, there were many small towns and villages. Lei Xingfeng knew that these must be the homes of the hidden sect's disciples. Soon, they passed through the residential and farming areas. After flying over a mountain range, They entered the core area. It was an endless grassland. There were countless animals and beasts on the grassland, many of which Lei Xingfeng had never seen before. There were herds of bison, elk, high-backed sheep, jumping antelope, wild horses, wild boars, giant single-horned black rhinoceroses, and so on. There were also giant bears, golden eagles, and black panthers. Lei Xingfeng pointed at a pack of wild wolves. "Ancestor, why are there so many animals and beasts here?" Wu Yang said, "This is the local owner's hobby. He likes to collect these animals and beasts." Gucci said, "Some people like wild beasts and beasts. Others like animals and fish. If you have the chance, go to your sister's hidden sect." Haha, their hidden sect is filled with all kinds of trees and plants. Feng Chenzong was curious. Feng, if you had a hidden space, what would you do?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Secret hidden space? Forget it. I'm not even a true monarch. Why would I consider this secret treasure space? Little martial uncle, even you don't have a secret space." Feng Chenzong said, "I'm just saying if you have one." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, "I'm not worried about that, at least not now." Wu Yang and Gucci both laughed. Feng Chenzong was also helpless. Lei Xingfeng just didn't want to continue the topic. After flying for about 10 minutes, they saw a cluster of buildings. It was no different from a huge city. There were no patrols or guards here. Those who could reach this place were either members of the secret sect or true friends of the secret sect. Wu Yang quickly brought the group to the entrance of a large house. There was already someone waiting at the door. It was a young man. Wu Yang smiled. "Brother Chun Zhao, there's no need to be so polite. I'm very familiar with your house." Chun Zhao smiled. "Brother Wu Yang, you took 4 spots this time. Haha, you making things difficult for me." Wu Yang laughed and scolded. "It's just 2 more spots. You're complaining? Stingy." Chun Zhao laughed. "I'm not the one complaining. It's my martial uncle. You go talk to him." Lei Xingfeng heard Chun Zhao call him martial uncle, and his heart trembled. Another Dao monarch. The person in front of him was undoubtedly a heavenly monarch. If you don't enter this circle, you won't know the people and things in it. In Wu Yang's circle, most of the people were monarchs, heavenly monarchs, and Dao monarchs. If you don't reach the Dao monarch level, you won't be able to enter this circle. Wu Yang said, "Come, Feng. Greet your martial uncle, Chun Zhao." Xi and Feng bowed. "I pay my respects to ancestor uncle." Chun Zhao was stunned. 9th ring? He wasn't confident. Wu Yang smiled. "Yes, this is my little grand disciple, Lei Xingfeng. I brought him over to see him." Then he said, "Feng Chenzong, you come too." Chapter 286. Feng Chenzong bowed. "Greetings, martial uncle. I am Feng Chenzong." Chun Zhao didn't understand. "You're going to take a 9th ring sage kid to outer space?" He still didn't believe it. Wu Yang said, "Why are there so many strange things?" "That's right. I'm taking a Feng to see it for himself." Chun Zhao shook his head. "You're so generous. You're giving a spot to this kid. What a waste." He couldn't help but shake his head again. "All right, don't pull a long face. I know. Is this your new monarch disciple?" Wu Yang nodded. "Yes. It's his first time going to outer space as well." "Huh." Chun Zhao muttered. "How generous. Wu Yang, let's go in." Gucci said, "Martial uncle, long time no see." Chun Zhao nodded. All right. You know I'm not a very particular person. I don't need to be so polite." He followed Chun Zhao in. Chun Zhao kept looking at Lei Xingfeng. He was very curious. He couldn't figure out why Wu Yang would take a 9th ring sage to outer space. It would take up most of Wu Yang's energy. He had to protect the kid at all times. Otherwise, the kid could easily die in outer space. The buildings here were very simple. They were all made of boulders and logs. The buildings were tall and majestic, rough and overbearing. This kind of architecture was shocking. Whether it was the walls or the logs, there were all kinds of depictions of hunting activities or wild beasts running. There were also all kinds of strange animals, many of which Lei Xingfeng had never seen before. Gucci whispered, "Those are all kinds of star beasts. You could take a closer look." Lei Xingfeng was surprised. "Those are star beasts? I thought they were wild beasts." Gucci said, Star beasts and wild beasts may look similar, but when you see a star beast, you'll know that the two are completely different. Chun Zhao said, "Why don't you tell him they're depicting wild beasts?" Gucci smiled and said, "Martial uncle, he has not even seen an astral beast before. How could he have seen an even more powerful barbaric beast?" Lei Xingfeng followed along blankly. He was still muttering in his heart, "Damn it, there's actually a wild beast. What kind of concept is this? Aren't star beasts the strongest?" Putting aside his confusion, the few of them quickly arrived at the main hall. The hall was very spacious. There were 6 huge wooden pillars in the hall. Each of them was so huge that it would take 3 people to wrap their arms around it. It was unknown where they were cut from. Lei Xingfeng recognized them at a glance. They were the golden sparrow wood that was as famous as the pitch ebony wood. They were also known as the wood of light. It was said that this kind of wood grew very slowly. Even a 1,000-year-old ancient tree would only be as thick as a bucket. However, these 6 pillars of golden sparrow wood should have grown for tens of thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. Lei Xingfeng was shocked. He couldn't help but want to snatch them. This kind of wood was definitely a treasure. When he walked into the hall, he could smell a faint fragrance coming from the golden sparrow wood. Gucci whispered, "That's golden sparrow wood, also known as the wood of light. It's one of the main ingredients for making requiem incense." Lei Xingfeng shook his head and said, "Too extravagant." Gucci said, "They have the right to be extravagant." Lei Xingfeng looked up and immediately saw 3 familiar faces. They were the 3 people who came to watch Feng Qinzong's breakthrough. 2 true monarchs and 1 heavenly monarch. Heavenly monarch Linbua, true monarch Dabono, and true monarch Lotzi. Lei Xingfeng had seen these 3 before. He didn't recognize the others. Lei Xingfeng followed Gucci and greeted the 3. A hint of surprise flashed in Lord of Heaven Linbua's eyes. This little fellow has already advanced to the 9th ring, and advanced so quickly. How amazing. When she saw Xian Feng, this little fellow was only at the 8th ring. How long had it been? He had already reached 9th ring. Although it was relatively easy for true monarchs to reach 9th ring, this was too easy. Lei Xingfeng said, "Greetings, ancestral martial ant." Linbua nodded and said, "You're going to the outer space this time too?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Yes, ancestral martial ant is taking me to see it." Linbua couldn't help but praise. What a big deal. What a joke. One trip would cost 20,000 yen rings. Even a true monarch wouldn't be willing to spend that much. Lotzi was as wretched as ever. Others would sit on chairs with their legs on the ground, but this guy had both legs on the chair. He hugged his arms and rested his chin on his knees. He lowered his eyelids and looked up from time to time. It always gave people the feeling that he was up to no good. "Little guy, you're here too. You don't even greet your martial uncle." Lei Xingfeng hurried forward and said, "Greetings, martial uncle Lotzi." Lotzi put on the air of a senior, but his expression was too wretched. He said, forget it. Little guy, you've got guts. You dare to go to the outer space." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Martial uncle, that's the ancestral martial ant's decision. I don't have the ability to do that." He then walked in front of Bono and said, "Greetings, martial uncle Bono." Bono smiled and said, Good boy." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but smile bitterly. He was almost 30 years old, and yet he was being called a good boy. He heard Wu Yang say, "A Feng, come here." Gucci said, "Go quickly." Lei Xingfeng agreed and hurried over. Wu Yang smiled and said, "Martial uncle, this time I'm bringing a little grand disciple." He then waved his hand and said, "A Feng, hurry up." Lei Xingfeng hurried and walked to Wu Yang's side. This was a young man who looked like he was 17 or 18 years old, but his hair was completely white. His eyebrows and beard were also as white as snow. He wore a black brocade robe with gold sprinkling. Although he was sitting, his aura was simply terrifying. Wu Yang said, "A Feng, this is Patriarch Huaicheng. Come and greet him." Lei Xingfeng knew that this was another Dao monarch. He hurried forward and said, "Lei Xingfeng greets Patriarch." Huaicheng stared at Lei Xingfeng. It didn't take long. After 3 seconds, Lei Xingfeng was almost sweating. This pressure was a bit too much. "Not a bad child, Wu Yang. It seems that you dote on him." Wu Yang smiled and said, "Martial uncle, Children are more sensible. It suits my temperament. Of course I dote on him. Huaiqing nodded and said, his aptitude is not bad. There is no problem in advancing to a true monarch. Everyone was surprised. Patriarch Huaicheng was a Dao monarch. Everyone would pay attention to anything he said. This evaluation was very scary. There was no problem in advancing to a true monarch. In other words, Lei Xingfeng still had the potential to develop. Suddenly, those who were originally disdainful of Lei Xingfeng began to warm up to him. There was also a large group of ninth ring sage in the hall. They were all direct descendants of Huaicheng's secret sect. As the patriarch of the secret sect, Huaicheng usually didn't appear. If it weren't for so many experts, he must be cultivating in seclusion. The direct descendants of the sect also wanted to use this opportunity to get close to the patriarch. However, they could only stand aside and didn't have the chance to go forward. They all looked at Lei Xingfeng and the patriarch with envy. Lei Xingfeng said, "Thank you for your praise, patriarch." In fact, he didn't want to be by Huaicheng's side at all. This guy gave people too much pressure. His aura was like a road roller, as if he could crush Lei Xingfeng into powder at any time. This kind of feeling couldn't be understood unless it was in front of him. Huaicheng said, "This is Gucci Jr., right?" Gucci stepped forward and saluted. "Gucci greets martial uncle." Huaicheng sighed and said, "I didn't expect Gucci Jr. to be a true monarch. Time really flies." Weiyang said, "Yes." As he spoke, he waved his hand at Gucci and Lei Xingfeng, indicating that they should leave. Gucci pulled Lei Xingfeng and bowed before retreating. Lei Xingfeng secretly wiped his sweat. He had seen two Dao monarchs. One was Luo Yeruo, and he only felt that the other party was unfathomable. The feeling Huaiqing gave him was completely different. It was a kind of terrifying pressure. This should be Huaiqing's control. If he didn't control it, he would probably be lying down when they met. Lei Xingfeng whispered, "The pressure is so great." Gucci whispered, "Don't talk. Follow me." Lei Xingfeng immediately shut up. He followed Gucci to the side. Gucci said, "You'd better wake up the blackbird." Lei Xingfeng turned his head and found that the blackbird was already unconscious. He couldn't help but be stunned and said, What is this?" An electric arc jumped and hit the blackbird's body. The blackbird immediately woke up and whispered in a low voice, "I was scared to death. Scared the bird to death. It's too scary. This person is too scary. He scared the bird to death." Ga. Lei Xingfeng held back his laughter and said, "Bird Butte, aren't you very powerful? You're not afraid of anyone. How could you faint without saying a word?" The blackbird said, "Hey, do you have any humanity? The bird was scared to death, and you're still mocking the bird. You're bullying the bird, Ga." Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, "I have humanity. I don't have the nature of a bird." The blackbird gagged and was immediately choked, speechless. Gucci couldn't help but laugh. Even if he was a true monarch, he didn't dare to laugh presumptuously here. Lei Xingfeng comforted, Okay. Actually, I'm also under a lot of pressure." The blackbird said, Ga. This person is too scary. He can kill a bird with a single look." It drilled its head into Lei Xingfeng's hair, looking frightened. Lei Xingfeng said, "It's okay. We've already retreated. I told you to stay at home, but you insisted on coming. Now you've suffered." The blackbird said, "There's meat to eat if I follow you." In fact, Lei Xingfeng knew that the blackbird couldn't bear to be electrocuted 3 times a day. This kind of electric shock was too important to it. Lei Xingfeng said, "Master, is Patriarch Huaicheng also going to the outer space?" Gucci said, "No, he won't go there." Lei Xingfeng asked why. Gucci simply said, "The Dao Monarch's battlefield isn't in the outer space." Lei Xingfeng was stunned, but quickly reacted. This meant that the Dao Monarch's battlefield was even more dangerous. He understood after thinking about it. Before he became a high-level true master, he could only live and cultivate in his own world. Once he became a high-level true master, he would enter the outer space to explore, and he wouldn't see any true monarchs. It seemed that the true monarchs and heavenly monarchs went to the outer space. It turned out that to go to the outer space One had to use a secret space-time door opened by a Dao monarch. Even Wu Yang couldn't go there himself. He had to rely on a Dao monarch's help to reach the outer space. No wonder he spent so many yin rings. Lei Xingfeng said, if there's a Dao monarch in the secret door, even if it's just a space-time door, he can still earn a lot of yin rings. Chapter 287. Gucci nodded and said, of course. Actually, our family also has a secret space-time door, but we don't know where the ancestor went, so we can only rely on the ancestors of other secret sections. Even I rarely have the chance to go to the outer space. It's already amazing if I can go there once every 10 years. Lei Xingfeng asked, what is the outer space like? He was really curious. Gucci said, don't think too much. The outer space is not much different from the world you see. It's just that the resources there are more abundant and there are more varieties. At the same time, there are also extremely powerful star beasts. There are even wild beasts that true monarchs would run away from. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, yes, we will only know when we go there. He was full of yearning. It was a huge treasure trove. Gucci seemed to know what he was thinking and said, after you go there, you must follow the ancestor closely. It's too dangerous. If you're not careful, you will die there. Even true monarchs will die there. Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, Master, don't worry. I will be careful. Gucci said, yes, I am very optimistic about your future. Logically speaking, I shouldn't bring you there. However, your ancestor has already reached the requirements for advancement and only needs some materials. These materials can't be found in the outer space and must be found in the outer space. A phone, your luck is too good. That's why we are bringing you there. We hope to find all the remaining materials in one go. Your ancestor doesn't want to wait any longer. The process of advancing from Heaven Monarch to Dao Monarch was not dangerous, but it required a huge amount of materials. Many of them were extremely rare. It was basically impossible to find all of them in the outer space. Wu Yang's advancement to Dao Monarch was the most important thing for the secret sections. Everything had to be done for this. Therefore, it was normal to bring Lei Xingfeng along. Even Wu Yang was amazed by this little guy's luck. He hoped that with Lei Xingfeng, he could collect all the remaining materials. If possible, it would be best if he could collect all the materials needed for Gucci to advance to Heaven Monarch. Once Wu Yang succeeded, Lei Xingfeng's secret sect will become a first-class secret sect. A secret sect with a Dao monarch was a truly powerful secret sect. Xian Feng knew that he wasn't lucky, but he had a pair of unique eyes that allowed him to see things that others couldn't. This was his biggest advantage and also the reason why he was able to establish himself in this world. The practitioners of this world, having a good aptitude wasn't enough. They still needed a large amount of resources, or else they wouldn't be able to become a true monarch, not to mention Heaven Monarch and Dao Monarch. The hall was very lively. Patriarch Huaicheng only sat for a while before leaving. When his figure disappeared outside the door, the entire hall was in an uproar. Everyone felt uncomfortable with the presence of a Dao Monarch Patriarch. Lei Xingfeng sat at the side. He held a cup and poured himself a cup of Murloc wine. He drank leisurely and looked at the lively crowd. Since he was only a ninth ring sage, no true monarch would talk to him. However, he did not care. He knew in his heart that sooner or later he would advance to true monarch. Gucci was already with other true monarchs. He also needed to communicate with others. This was how relationships and connections came about. Hey, why are you sitting alone? Don't you want to talk to others? Lei Xingfeng turned his head and hurriedly stood up. Senior Lotzi, hello. Lotzi dragged a chair and placed it next to Lei Xingfeng. He still put his legs on the seat and hugged them. Hey, what are you drinking? Lei Xingfeng smiled. Martial Uncle Lotzi, this is Murloc wine. Lazi's face relaxed as he said, oh my, this is good stuff. There's even Murloc wine. Do you have more? Give me some. Lei Xingfeng took out 2 bottles of Murloc wine. They were 2 liters each. They were not top-grade Murloc wine, just ordinary Murloc wine. He handed them to Lotzi and said, okay, Senior, please accept it. He did not want to take out top-grade Murloc wine. This thing was too eye-catching. Lotzi took it without hesitation and smiled. This wine is rare. I didn't expect you to be able to get it. Lei Xingfeng smiled. I got it by chance. Hee. Lotzi said, you're brave enough to go to the outer realm. If you can come back safely, this trip might not be a bad thing. Lei Xingfeng asked, Marshal Uncle, will the 10 of us go together? Lotzi smiled and shook his head. That's impossible. We all have our own secrets. It's impossible for us to work together. Lei Xingfeng was secretly shocked. They were going to work separately. This meant that Wu Yang, Gu Qi, and Feng Qinzong were in a team with him. The others would not be together. However, when he thought about how Wu Yang was a heavenly monarch, and a peak heavenly monarch at that, their team strength was actually not bad. After resting for a night, everyone gathered again the next day. Under Ancestor Huai Cheng's lead, they came to a secret room. The secret door of time and space was in the secret room. This was a huge underground secret room. The walls, floor, and ceiling were all covered with countless strange patterns. There were also indentations for inlaid seal rings. They were densely packed like stars. Ancestor Huai Cheng said, this teleportation took half a year just to set up. Everyone knows the rules, and you all have the list. When you come back, I hope you'll find something. Lei Xingfeng didn't quite understand Ancestor Huai Cheng's words, but with Wu Yang's help, he didn't need to understand. Among the 10 people who went, he was the most insignificant. Wu Yang said, our people come over. Lei Xingfeng stood beside Wu Yang, Gu Qi stood opposite, and Feng Qinzong stood on the other side. Wu Yang reached out and said, hold tight. The 4 of them held hands and stood in a small circle in the center of the secret room. The others also stood in their respective positions. Everyone who went together stood hand in hand. Gu Qi explained in a low voice, once teleported, if you don't hold hands, the starry sky will change. You will be completely separated. Who knows where you will end up, so you must hold hands. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, yes, master. Wu Yang saw that Lei Xingfeng was a little nervous and smiled. It's okay, I will protect you. And your bird. Lei Xingfeng was very uncomfortable. What do you mean by your bird? The black bird not only clasped Lei Xingfeng's collar with its claws, but also used its sharp beak to bite on Lei Xingfeng's ear for fear of being shaken off. Ancestor Huai Cheng said, are you ready? If you are, I will activate it. Everyone agreed, and Ancestor Huai Cheng began to activate the secret space-time door. In an instant, Lei Xingfeng only felt dizzy. A huge pressure suddenly descended, making him completely unable to move. Fortunately, he could still feel something in his hand. He knew that he was holding someone else's hand. That force was simply terrifying to the extreme. Then there was a sharp pain in his ear. That was the result of the black bird biting his ear desperately. Suddenly, the scene in front of him changed. The entire secret room disappeared, and in front of him was a bright starry sky. Except for the starry sky, Lei Xingfeng couldn't feel anything. He had lost his senses, as if he was in a semi-conscious state. Suddenly, cold sweat poured down. The feeling was extremely terrifying. Lei Xingfeng wanted to scream, but he didn't even know where his mouth was. The only thing he could still feel was his eyes. Countless stars were reflected in his eyes. The most terrifying thing was that those stars were moving. After an unknown period of time, he suddenly began to feel something. He knew that his hand was still holding the hands of his master and ancestor. His ears began to hurt, and all the feeling in his body came back. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and his body was already suspended in the air. Then, he heard Wu Yang say, we're here. Lei Xingfeng couldn't hold it in anymore. He didn't even look at his surroundings before he cried out, Holy *T, this is too scary. Then, a scream came from Lei Xingfeng's shoulder. Wah! Scared the hell out of me. Scared the hell out of me. I almost died. Ah! Feng Qinzong's face was also pale. He couldn't help but shake his head. This kind of transportation is too scary. I can't feel anything. Wu Yang laughed. It's not that scary. You'll get used to it. Gu Qi said, it's not safe here. Let's go down. Lei Xingfeng only just realized that the 4 of them were suspended in the air. The surroundings were foggy, and he couldn't see anything clearly. But with just a glance, he knew that he was in the clouds. As they descended, the four of them quickly passed through the clouds and saw the ground below. Lei Xingfeng said curiously, "Hey, this isn't any different from where we came from." Wu Yang said, "What do you think outer space is like?" Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "It's not like this." Suddenly, a golden eagle about 6 or 7 meters long pierced through the clouds and pounced on the four of them. The blackbird was the most sensitive. This thing was definitely its natural enemy. It cried out, "Stupid bird! The stupid bird is here!" "Caw!" The blackbird cried out, "Stupid bird! Caw, no, this is a big stupid bird." This golden eagle was completely different from the ones the blackbird had seen before. When it first flew out of the clouds, it was only a black dot because of the distance. The blackbird was too sensitive, so it immediately called the stupid bird. But after seeing this golden eagle, the blackbird was scared. This guy was too big. Compared to the golden eagle it had seen before, it was like comparing a sparrow to a golden eagle. Lei Xingfeng said, "Golden eagle? It's so big." Gucci said, "It's not a golden eagle. It's a double-headed golden eagle." Xi and Feng had already seen it clearly. It was indeed a two-headed bird. Its appearance was similar to an eagle's, with two heads, one big and one small, the big head on top and the small head on the neck. It was extremely strange. As it flew down, it actually let out a sharp whistling sound, similar to the sound of cannonballs landing on the ground in his previous world, causing one's heart to tremble. In just a moment, the double-headed golden eagle had approached the group. Its target was Lei Xingfeng. The reason was very simple. Lei Xingfeng was the weakest. This was the instinct of any beast. The weakest target would be the biggest reward. No matter how strong the beast was, it would choose the weakest target to attack. Lei Xingfeng raised his hand, and a thick thunderbolt struck out. Boom! The speed of the thunderbolt was extremely fast. After Lei Xingfeng reached the 9th ring, its attack power had been greatly improved. In addition, Lei Yin contained a trace of Diangheng Thunder Serum, so its attack power was doubled. Chapter 288. With an eagle cry, the two-headed golden eagle had no time to dodge and collided with the thick lightning. In the midst of the loud sound, the double-headed golden eagle's pouncing speed paused for a moment. Following that, an eagle's cry could be heard. Xi and Feng was shocked to discover that the double-headed golden eagle was completely unharmed. It was only slowed down by the lightning attack. After circling in the air, it continued to pounce. Wu Yang smiled. "Let me do it. This golden eagle's strength is about the same as a Feng. You can't beat it." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but curse. What a joke. It was a monarch rank golden eagle. How was he supposed to fight? He immediately retreated until he was behind Gucci. "Master, are the beasts here all so powerful?" Gucci said, "Not necessarily. Some are very powerful, some are ordinary. The truly powerful ones are the star beasts and mang beasts. However, they're extremely rare. We may not encounter them." Feng Qinzong hesitated. He didn't go forward because he had just arrived in outer space. He didn't dare to act recklessly. It was better to be careful in an unfamiliar environment. Wu Yang faced the golden eagle. With a slight flicker, he had already appeared on top of the golden eagle. Xi and Feng could clearly see that Wu Yang had only attacked from the air, and with a muffled sound, the double-headed golden eagle let out a pitiful cry and fell from the air. A single attack had already shattered its neck. The difference in strength between the two was like heaven and earth. The result was clear. A single attack had killed it. Lei Xingfeng's mouth was wide open. After a while, he said, "Holy shit, the founder is really powerful." Gucci and the rest chased after the two-headed golden eagle as it tumbled down. This thing was also a treasure. There were no such powerful beasts in the outer world. So how could they give up on it when its entire body was a treasure? Lei Xingfeng and Feng Qinzong followed closely behind. Wu Yang followed slowly. The earth hit them in the face. The two-headed golden eagle fell from a height of tens of thousands of meters. Boom! The 6-meter-long, two-headed golden eagle fell to the ground. According to Lei Xingfeng's understanding, the two-headed golden eagle must have been smashed into a meat patty. When he landed, he found that the two-headed golden eagle was intact except for its broken neck. He secretly sighed. This body was tough enough. The black bird said, "The big stupid bird is finished." Gaga. Gaga. Lei Xingfeng wondered, "Are you laughing?" The black bird said, "Of course. Haven't you heard of a bird laughing?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Nonsense, of course I haven't heard such a horrible laugh." The angry black bird kept pecking Xian Feng's ears, but Xian Feng didn't mind. His current body was different from his previous one. It was incomparably tough. Although being pecked by the blackbird was a bit painful, it definitely wouldn't break his skin and bleed. Wu Yang was the last to land. He glanced at the two-headed golden eagle and said, "I only want the core. Forget about the rest. You guys can divide it. All right, leave the blood for a Feng." Feng Qinzong started, Gucci gave directions, and Lei Xingfeng watched. From the two-headed golden eagle's heart, a fist-sized core was dug out. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "What is this thing? What's the use of it?" Gucci explained, "This is the two-headed golden eagle's core. It has many uses. For example, your chaos wheel can be fused with the core. The power of your chaos wheel will be greatly increased. This kind of beast can only have a core when it reaches the monarch rank. If it doesn't, it won't have one. Star beasts also have one, but the core of a star beast is called a star core, and the core of a Mang beast is called a Mang core. They are both very rare." Wu Yang said, "Star and Mang cores are very rare. Star beasts are hard to kill. Although I'm not afraid of Mang beasts, when I bring you guys, even I have to avoid them. But don't worry, both star beasts and Mang beasts are very rare." Lei Xingfeng said, "Ancestor, how many yin rings can the core be exchanged for?" Wu Yang said, "A normal core can be exchanged for 5 to 700 yin rings. A higher level core can be exchanged for 1,000 yin rings. A Feng, very few people would exchange their cores for yin rings." Lei Xingfeng said, "Is it because it's very rare?" Wu Yang said, "It's not because it's very rare. It's because this thing is a precious material. It can be used in many ways." Gucci began to extract the essence blood. For such a huge golden eagle, Gucci used a special method to only obtain a ball of essence blood the size of an egg. Lei Xingfeng saw Gucci use a medicine and drip it directly onto the essence blood. The ball of essence blood that was held in the air by an invisible force immediately evaporated. In a moment, it became a flat lump of essence blood, completely dried. Gucci said, "A Feng, this is for you." Lei Xingfeng took out an ebony box and carefully put the essence blood away. The black bird looked on greedily as Lei Xingfeng put away the essence blood. It instinctively knew that this ball of essence blood would be extremely beneficial to it, but it also knew that if it asked Lei Xingfeng for it, it would basically be impossible to get it. Skin, tendon, and bone. The feathers, bones, and tendons of the golden eagle were all excellent materials. There is also the meat of the golden eagle, which was all collected by Lei Xingfeng. No one would eat this meat, but the blackbird loved it. The meat that it was originally going to throw away was all put into large barrels of ebony by Lei Xingfeng. He collected 3 barrels of golden eagle meat. Lei Xingfeng then began to observe his surroundings. This area just so happened to be a mountainous area. The mountains here were very tall, all of them tens of thousands of meters high. The terrain was extremely complex, and the valleys were often primeval forests. The peaks were covered in thick ice and snow. Gucci smiled. "Doesn't it feel like a normal world?" "Haha, are you disappointed?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Indeed, it's just that the mountains are a bit taller, and the trees here are a bit older." "Haha, I'm not too disappointed. I'm just wondering why ninth ring masters aren't allowed to come here." Wu Yang smiled. "Little idiot, there's no ban on ninth ring sage here. The problem is, even if a ninth ring sage is willing to open a time gate for him, can he take out 20,000 yin rings? Without yin rings, which Dowler would open a time gate for you?" Gucci said, "At least 6 people are needed to open a time gate. Even if a sage can gather 20,000 yin rings, it's impossible to gather 6 people to go together." Wu Yang said, As for whether or not this place is dangerous, you saw the two-headed golden eagle as soon as you arrived. If you were alone, haha, do you think you could escape? Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, all right, I admit, I can't escape. He already understood the danger of this place. If it wasn't for Wu Yong, he wouldn't have been able to survive. Wu Yong said, as long as you follow me, you'll be fine. Lei Xingfeng and Feng Shenzong were both newbies here. Of course, he was much stronger than Lei Xingfeng. His heart was calmer than Lei Xingfeng's. He said, where are we going? Wu Yong took out a map made by the Star Python record. He looked at it carefully and said, I'm not familiar with this area. It's not marked on the map. Haha, this is a foreign land. Let me record it. When they were in the sky, they saw a large area. With his amazing memory, Wu Yong recorded the terrain in the Star Python record. He said, a foreign land has its benefits. This place shouldn't have been developed before. Let's look around and see if there are any mineral deposits. Maybe a phone can bring us good luck. Lei Xingfeng rolled his eyes. This was bullshit. My luck. Where did my luck come from? Squinting his eyes and looking around, Xian Feng was shocked as he saw countless glowing lights. According to his experience, if it was a treasure, it would emit light. He saw many plants emitting a faint light of various colors. Looking carefully, Lei Xingfeng found that most of the plants glowed with a very faint light. There were a few plants that glowed brightly. Most of them were green, but there were a few that glowed with light cyan, light red, and even purple. Dazzling. Xian Feng's only feeling was dazzling. He had never seen such a scene in the outside world. It was truly too shocking. At the same time, he also realized that as his strength increased, his eyes seemed to be able to see even more rare things. Lei Xingfeng tried to go to a place that glowed with a strong green light. He found a plant, a very small and inconspicuous plant. At the base of a huge ancient tree, beside the protruding roots, there was a thin and long plant. It was this thin and long plant that was emitting an extremely bright light. Even the weeds and trees couldn't hide it. This plant had sword-like leaves. There were a total of 3 slender leaves, each about a foot long. The leaves were like jade, sparkling and translucent. It was very strange, but also very beautiful. Looking at the roots of this plant, it was deeply embedded in the thick roots of the ancient tree. This was a parasitic plant. Lei Xingfeng recognized it. It was a rare plant called the remnant sword Phoebe. As for what it was used for, he didn't know. It was a plant recorded in the Star Python records. It could be used to concoct medicine. As for what kind of medicine, Lei Xingfeng didn't know. Let's go, Feng. We have to go. Feng Shenzong shouted. Lei Xingfeng shouted, don't worry, I found a plant. Wu Yong heard this and ran up. He couldn't help it. Lei Xingfeng was so famous. He was a typical lucky person. He was eager to know what kind of plant Lei Xingfeng found. Lei Xingfeng carefully dug out the remnant sword Phoebe. Wu Yong had already walked up behind Lei Xingfeng. With just a glance, he was pleasantly surprised. No way, a Feng. Your luck is really abnormal. This is a remnant sword Phoebe. Gucci also arrived. His eyes flashed with surprise. It is indeed a remnant sword Phoebe, and it's a fully grown one. Haha. Lei Xingfeng took out a wooden box. He used to make countless wooden boxes with the intention of collecting all kinds of plants. After collecting the remnant sword Phoebe, Lei Xingfeng didn't put the box into his hidden Luin space. He asked, Founder, is this remnant sword Phoebe the target of your collection? Wu Yong said, that's right. It's the target of my collection. Strange. How did you find it? Chapter 289. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, I was lucky, Ancestor, here you go. Previously, he received the blood essence from the ancestor, so he could still do such a favor. Wu Yong was suddenly happy. He said, Okay, I'll take it, He was not polite. He would never refuse the filial piety of his own little grand disciple. What's more, remnant sword radiance really needed a certain amount of luck to find. This was a very precious plant. Lei Xingfeng said, there seems to be a lot of plants in this area that can be used. Let's search here for a few days first. Wu Yong thought for a moment and said, I'll listen to you. Xi and Feng immediately smiled. He had just patrolled the area. There were a lot of plants here. With this pair of special eyes, he could find plants that others couldn't find. One must know that these rare plants were all hidden in the primitive forest. If it was purely based on luck, it would be extremely difficult to obtain them. And to Xi and Feng, it was like a louse on a bald man's head. It couldn't be more obvious. Lei Xingfeng had completely confirmed that his eyes were a radar to find resources. No good things could escape his eyes. Under the command, the four of them scattered. In any case, the signal was set. Once there was danger, as long as the signal was sent out, then they could escape. This area should be searched by Wu Yang. There should not be too much danger. Moreover, this land should be the territory of the double-headed golden eagle. After it was defeated, this area should be safe for the time being. Along the way, Lei Xingfeng did not know what happened to the others, but he knew that he was rich, not to mention other things, just remnant sword radiance. He dug up 6. Some of the plants with strong light, he did not even know what they were, but because of the light, he knew that they must be good things. Xi and Feng wasn't someone who didn't know anything. He had read a lot of star python records regarding plants and had some knowledge, but the plants here were all rare and precious, so at least a third of the plants were something he didn't know anything about. As for the other 2/3 of the plants, Lei Xingfeng had seen them in the star python records. All of them were extremely rare plants, and this gave him a huge boost in confidence. Lei Xingfeng was standing beside an ancient tree. He raised his head and looked at the tree. Then, he flew up because he saw the fruit on the ancient tree. It was emitting a faint purple light. He recognized the fruit immediately. Purple sparrow fruit. This was one of the main ingredients to concoct this soul-stabilizing medicine. It was extremely precious. There were at least 100 purple sparrow fruits on this ancient tree. Lei Xingfeng took out a wooden box. Each box could contain 4 purple sparrow fruits. Each fruit was the size of a fist. The appearance of the purple sparrow fruit was very special. It looked like a curled-up sparrow. It was dark purple in color and had a faint fragrance. Lei Xingfeng knew that even if it was not made into a soul-stabilizing potion, just eating the purple sparrow fruit raw would have a very good healing effect. After collecting a total of 163 purple sparrow fruits, Lei Xingfeng was very satisfied. This was a big harvest. Not daring to delay, Lei Xingfeng rushed to the next target. It was a relatively special light. In the forest, the colors that emitted light were mostly green, cyan, purple. There were also a few red and yellow colors. However, a golden light was very rare. Lei Xingfeng had already noticed that there was a faint golden light in front of him. He knew that there was something special there. He came to a bush and carefully pushed aside the branches and leaves. In the end, there was nothing. The golden light actually came from the ground. Lei Xingfeng was secretly surprised. He thought, could it be a mine? Lei Xingfeng had always been very careful. Even so, he was not willing to use laborious methods to forcefully dig. Instead, he carefully removed the soil layer. Golden mushroom. Lei Xingfeng's heart was beating wildly. It was actually golden mushroom. He could not believe his eyes. This thing could extend one's lifespan by 50 years if eaten raw. If it was mixed with medicine, it could even make an old person glow with youth. It was a priceless treasure. Lei Xingfeng immediately took out a wooden box. At the same time, he took out some dried black mud. This black mud was obtained from the Blackwater region's Blackfish people's wine cellar. It was a special material and was very suitable to preserve the golden mushroom. He covered the wooden box with the black mud and then began to dig. This was a large ball of golden mushroom tangled together. He carefully cut off a section that was about 2 feet long and as thick as a child's arm. He put it into the wooden box and then put it into his hidden loin space. He then took out another wooden box and put in the black mud and cut off the golden mushroom. After busying for 3 hours, he finally collected all the golden mushroom. When he was done, he was already sweating profusely. 56 boxes of golden mushroom. Lei Xingfeng's heart was beating wildly. He now knew why the outer space was so attractive. It was no wonder that monarch-level experts would come here as long as they had the chance. This was a big treasure. Sitting on the ground, he carefully reburied the soil layer. Lei Xingfeng also left some broken golden mushroom in the soil layer. He hoped that the golden mushroom here would grow again. Although he knew that the growth of golden mushroom was extremely slow, this must be the most suitable place for it to grow. Flying up a giant tree, Lei Xingfeng sat on the branch and took out some dry food to eat. In addition, he took out a few pieces of two-headed golden eagle's meat and put it on the trunk for the black bird to peck. Since the two-headed golden eagle's meat, the blackbird refused to eat the bull's beef. According to its words, birds should eat raw meat and not cooked meat. Lei Xingfeng knew that the two-headed golden eagle's meat contained a lot of substances that were beneficial to the blackbird. At present, it was most suitable for the blackbird to eat. The bowl of fresh meat, the blackbird ate 3 pieces in one breath. Only then did it sigh with satisfaction. Delicious. Comfortable. Ga. Lei Xingfeng did not pay attention to it. He just kept looking around, hoping to see a special light. There were a lot of lights, but they were very faint and not conspicuous. Lei Xingfeng secretly sighed. It was not that he was greedy, but his heart was filled with emotion. Even those plants that emitted a faint light were very rare in the outer world, but here they were everywhere. Even low-level plants are good things outside. Since I can't find rare plant for the time being, these ordinary plants have to be picked and excavated. Lei Xingfeng secretly decided. In fact, even these plants were actually good materials. Many of them were materials that he needed. It was just that he was fascinated by those rare plants at the beginning. Once he reacted, he immediately threw himself into it. In fact, those rare and valuable plants were not of much use to Lei Xingfeng now. On the contrary, the plants that could be excavated now were mostly plants that he could use or plants that could be used by Supreme. Almost 10 meters away, he could find a useful plant. Along the huge valley, Lei Xingfeng excavated all the way. Some plants needed leaf stems, some needed the whole plant, and some needed the rhizome. If Lei Xingfeng did not know, then the whole plant was excavated and put into a lacquered ebony box. The biggest function of the lacquered ebony box was to preserve freshness. Even if Lei Xingfeng did not deal with it, he could slowly deal with it when he returned home. During this period, he also encountered a few special plants. Lei Xingfeng carefully picked them. Soon, 3 days passed. Lei Xingfeng was still picking, but when he heard Wu Yang's long whistle, he could only fly to the sky to gather. Soon, the 4 gathered together again. Wu Yang asked, "How is everyone's harvest?" Feng Qinzong said excitedly, "My God, this is a huge treasure trove. As long as we look carefully, we can find many plants we need. I've never seen a place like this before. It's dazzling." Gucci shook his head. "It's SOSO. I only found a tilted jade plum. It's passable. The rest are just ordinary materials." For him, if it wasn't a rare material, then it was meaningless. Feng Qinzong didn't understand. "This is SOSO. Senior brother, what kind of materials do we need to be in a good place?" Gucci said, "The materials we really need. If we have the materials we really need, then it's a good place. There's too little here." In fact, it wasn't too little. It was just that no matter how good the materials were, if you couldn't find them, it was useless. The materials here were much better than the materials on the continent where the hidden door was located. Wu Yang said, "Feng, how's your harvest? Is there anything special?" Lei Xingfeng smiled. "It's SOSO. I just found this." As he spoke, he took out a wooden box. Wu Yang opened the box expectantly. There were 4 purple sparrow fruits. He said in surprise, "Purple sparrow fruits? Haha, as expected, Feng's luck is better than ours." How could he not recognize the main ingredient of the soul-stabilizing medicine? Lei Xingfeng smiled. "Founder, what materials do you need? Tell me." Wu Yang said, "Crane's beak flower, heavenly silk oil, moon ginseng, golden mushroom, sweet soul grass, giant ladder dragon leaf, fire thorn lotus. They're all plant materials." "Haha, so far, you've only found a remnant, Sornan." Xian Feng was also stunned. Of the 30 or so plant materials Wu Yang reported, he actually managed to collect quite a few of them. He then took out a box and spoke, "This is golden wild mushroom, Wu Yong took the box. With just a glance, he couldn't help but laugh. Golden mushroom. Wow, this is golden mushroom. Good boy. Just this is worth bringing you here. Gucci smiled and shook his head. This child's luck is unbelievable. Simply inconceivable. The golden wild fungus is a priceless treasure. Ha! Lei Xingfeng took out another box. This is sweet soul grass. One surprise after another. Wu Yong said, You're exaggerating. You found this too. Lei Xingfeng took out another wooden box. This is corduroy. It was a ball of white cotton like silk. Wu Yong was almost numb. He took the wooden box and said, There's even corduroy. Gucci and Feng Chenzong were also shocked. The two of them had been busy for a few days and found quite a few plants that monarchs needed. However, they didn't find a single one that Wu Yong needed. They didn't expect Lei Xingfeng to take out one item after another. They were all extremely rare treasures. Then, Lei Xingfeng clapped his hands. That's it. That's all. It's too little. Wu Yong was speechless. Too little? He held the wooden box and didn't know what to do. After all, they were all found by his grand disciple. It wasn't that he couldn't ask for them directly, but asking for them once or twice wasn't a big problem. However, if he asked for them too often, even with his thick skin, Wu Yong felt embarrassed. How could he make it up to him? Chapter 290. Lei Xingfeng was very generous because he collected more than one of each type. For example, he collected a lot of golden mushrooms. He waved his hand and said, Grandmaster, if you need them, you can keep them all. Take it as a gift from me to you. Wu Yang's seductive face turned red. He had already taken advantage of Lei Xingfeng many times. He said, Okay, good boy. Grandmaster appreciates your kindness. He kept the wooden box and smiled. No wonder your senior brothers and sisters like to bring you out. Your luck? TSK, it's really heaven-defying. Lei Xingfeng thought to himself, I'm not lucky. I have good taste. He smiled and said, Grandmaster, I don't think we can find anything here. Where are we going? Wu Yong thought for a moment and said, Follow me. I've been to a place before, but it was a wasted trip. There's a material there that I urgently need. Unfortunately, I can't find it. Gucci said, Okay, let's go together. Is it far? Wu Yong smiled bitterly. I need to find it. This place is not on the map. I need to find a suitable landmark. Maybe I can find it. This time, the teleportation seems to be a bit off. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, How big is this place? Wu Yong said, I don't know. No one knows how big this place is. Anyway, there are so many perfected lords, heaven lords, and even Tao lords. None of them have explored the entire terrain. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but click his tongue. It's so big. Grandmaster, are there any humanoid natives here? Wu Yong said, No humans, no natives. This is a desolate land. Yes, even if there are people, they're all outsiders. Lei Xingfeng asked, Are they all perfected lords and heaven lords? Wu Yong shook his head and said, There are some outsiders who are also very strong. They're different from us. They are also here to look for materials. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, We are different. Grandmaster, do you mean they're not cultivators? Gucci said, How could they not be cultivators? They have their own cultivation system, and their language is different. Haha, you can say that they're all different. Even their appearance is strange. Normally, when they meet us, they leave on their own. They don't want to fight. Wu Yong smiled. That's because they are afraid of each other. Feng Chenzong asked, Are there a lot of them? Wu Yong said, There are very few of them. Just like us, they can only come here because they are powerful people. Xi and Feng asked curiously, They also use the secret doors of time and space? Wu Yong immediately laughed and said, How is that possible? They have their own way of coming here, but we don't know the specifics. The only thing we know is that they definitely don't have a secret space-time door. Lei Xingfeng was about to become a curious baby. He kept asking questions. Wu Yong didn't lose his patience and answered with a smile. Gucci said, Let's go. We've been here for too long. Wu Yong. Okay, let's leave. The four of them flew into the air. At this time, even Wu Yong was at a loss. He didn't know which direction to go. Wu Yang thought for a moment and said, "Let's go this way first. Let's see if there are any familiar places. Then we could discuss where to go." The area was full of towering mountains. Each one was 7 to 8,000 meters tall. Some even reached over 10,000 meters. Huge valleys and waterfalls could be seen. The terrain was complex. Lei Xingfeng had never seen anything like this before. The beautiful scenery made Lei Xingfeng gasp in amazement. Countless oddly shaped plants and strange animals could be seen from time to time. In the air, Xi and Feng even saw a few familiar animals. Only their bodies were extremely large. There were many giant apes, giant bears, and giant lizards. He even saw a group of 7 to 8 meter long giant rhinoceroses leisurely passing through the forest, causing the large ancient trees to be knocked to the side. Along the way, they could see faint lights on the ground from time to time. However, because they were in a hurry, Lei Xingfeng didn't have time to go down and check. If they had to go to every place with light, they wouldn't have time to hurry. So Lei Xingfeng basically turned a blind eye unless there was a strong light below. However, so far, there wasn't a place with an extremely strong light. He obediently followed Wu Yang and the others and flew all the way. Suddenly, Lei Xingfeng listened attentively. He asked, "Master, do you hear thunder?" Gucci said, "Yes, over there." He pointed to a mountain peak in the distance. Wu Yang said, "A phone, what's wrong?" Lei Xingfeng shouted, "Grandmaster, Master, young martial uncle, wait for me. I'll be right back." As he said this, he rushed toward the sound of thunder. He didn't expect to hear thunder here. Wu Yang was puzzled, but he quickly reacted and said, "Quick, let's follow him. It's very dangerous here. Quickly catch up with the phone." The three of them followed Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng's flying speed was extremely fast. Because he was a cultivator of the thunder attribute, his speed was naturally fast. In an instant, he increased his speed to the extreme. Wu Yang and the others, who were flying behind him, were full of praise. Lei Xingfeng's speed was actually not much lower than that of a monarch. In just a few minutes, the rolling thunder could be clearly heard. As the saying goes, looking at a mountain seems to be running a horse to death. It didn't seem far, but it would take a long time to reach the target. Even if Lei Xingfeng's flying speed was extremely fast, he could only hear the thunder and couldn't reach the place where the thunder came from. At this time, Lei Xingfeng saw lightning. A mass of dark clouds suddenly appeared on top of the mountain peak. Bolts of lightning shot out from the dark clouds and struck the mountain peak. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. What kind of lightning was this? It actually struck the mountain peak and didn't damage other places. This was too strange. Wu Yang flashed and appeared beside Lei Xingfeng. He grabbed Lei Xingfeng and said, "This isn't natural lightning. It's an outsider." "Ah, what do you mean?" Wu Yang said anxiously. "That's an outsider breaking through." Lei Xingfeng was even more stunned. He also relied on thunder and lightning to break through. He didn't expect that an outsider would do the same. He said, "They have to find a place with thunder and lightning to break through." Wu Yang said, "No, thunder and lightning will appear when they break through." Lei Xingfeng was dumbfounded. He said, "How? How is this possible?" Gucci said, "It's true, and there must be other outsiders guarding it. If we go over, there will definitely be a conflict." Lei Xingfeng looked at the lightning greedily. After a while, he said, "Then forget it. Let's leave." He didn't want to attract a bunch of enemies. The four of them turned back. Lei Xingfeng knew that it wasn't natural lightning, so his interest was greatly reduced. He also didn't want to fight with outsiders. He didn't want to see this kind of meaningless battle. There were no benefits and a lot of disadvantages. Leaving was the best choice. Lei Xingfeng said while flying, "I really want to see what these outsiders look like." Gucci said, "It's nothing. It's completely different from our customs. They look strange too. Well, they're taller than us and stronger than us. They mostly use weapons and can fly. They're not slow either. Their attack power is quite strong. If you don't have any special means, you can't beat them. Of course, if you break through to Monarch, you can fight them." Lei Xingfeng sighed and said, "Well, I don't want to see them now. Although he was very curious, he knew that if he saw outsiders, he wouldn't have a good time. Wu Yang said, "Sometimes you can't avoid them just because you don't want to." Lei Xingfeng said, "Founder, if we meet outsiders, how should we deal with them?" Wu Yang said, "That's not up to you. Among the outsiders, there are many who are hostile to us. They will attack for no reason. Generally speaking, if you can avoid them at the beginning, then try to avoid them. If you can't, then fight." Lei Xingfeng said, "What if we can't beat them?" Gucci laughed and scolded, "Little idiot, can't you run if you can't beat them?" Lei Xingfeng said, "It's really messy." Wu Yang smiled and said, "It's okay. After all, this place is very big. It can be said that there are abundant resources. As long as we are careful, we can avoid them." After flying over mountains and valleys for a full day, they still couldn't find a place that Wu Yang knew. Wu Yang said, "Okay, I'll land and rest first." They landed in a large canyon. Generally speaking, there were streams in the canyon. If the canyon was big enough, there would be small rivers and so on. It would be very convenient to get water, so the four of them directly landed in the canyon. The bottom of the canyon was 1,000 meters wide, and the cliffs on both sides were 10,000 meters high. The sunlight shining down from above was blocked by the huge trees, making it look very gloomy. Wu Yang quickly found a flat place. It was a rocky ground with some weeds and short trees growing in the cracks. There was a stream passing by. Since there were no tall trees in this place, the sunlight could easily shine on it. The four of them found a relatively flat rock and sat down to rest. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Aside from the strong guy we met when we first came in, it seems like this place isn't too bad. There aren't that many dangers." Wu Yang said, "It seems so, but the number of monarchs who die here is the highest. You don't know that, do you?" Feng Qinzong asked curiously why. Wu Yang smiled and said, "Especially for someone like you who just became a monarch and has no one to protect you. After coming in, very few people can leave safely." Lei Xingfeng seemed to understand. He said, "Was it carelessness?" Gucci clapped and said, "That's right. It was carelessness. This place may seem peaceful and there are countless treasures, but if you meet with danger once, it's enough to make you unlucky." Wu Yang smiled and said, "Yes, Feng's guess is correct. Monarchs who come here for the first time will have a few chances to meet existences stronger than them. If you're not careful once, it's very normal to die here. This is the difference between a regular visitor and a first-time visitor. Regular monarchs, well, not regular, but as long as they've been here 2 or 3 times, they will be very careful. If they can avoid danger, they will do their best to avoid it. This way, their chances of survival will be much higher." Gucci smiled and said, "The best way is to be with a heavenly monarch or even a down monarch. Basically, there won't be too much danger. Even if you meet a powerful star beast or wild beast, you'll have a chance to escape." Chapter 291. Lei Xingfeng said, "Then the deaths were mainly caused by star beasts and mang beasts." Wuri said, "Star beasts and wild beasts are relatively rare, but once you encounter them, it's almost impossible to escape. There are also many deaths and injuries caused by other reasons, such as outsiders, unknown poisons, and even unknown curses. You don't even know what's going on, and you'll die inexplicably." Gucci said, "I used to have a friend who once told me a very strange thing. A monarch drowned to death. Do you believe it?" "Anyway, I believe it." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but smile bitterly. A monarch's body had already been reborn. Even a knife or sword might not be able to injure it. Even if it jumped into a pot of boiling water, it wouldn't be scalded to death. To drown to death, there must be a big reason for the water. Wu Yang said, "What's so strange about that? There was once a monarch who entered a forbidden area. He didn't do anything and just died on the ground. His entire body dried up, and the people behind him didn't dare to go forward. They all ran away. There was even a monarch of heaven who didn't dare to make a move." Lei Xingfeng's hair stood on end. "Hey, Grandmaster Master, don't be so scary." Feng Qinzong was also scared. It wasn't easy for him to become a monarch. He didn't want to die at all. Yeah, this thing is too scary. But did you find out why they died?" Gucci sneered. Who would look for the reason? It's too late to hide. No one would go forward. Lei Xingfeng said, that place must be very special, right? Wu Yang laughed. I won't scare you. Haha, that's an ancient ruin. Only ruins would have such a powerful trap, or rather, a forbidden area. The rewards there are greater, but the danger is also greater. Most people wouldn't go in unless they have no other choice. Those who choose to enter the forbidden area have their own reasons. Of course, there's no lack of greedy people. Lei Xingfeng said, Ancient forbidden area? What kind of place is that? By the way, what kind of person left it behind? Wu Yang said, I don't know who left it behind, but it must have been left behind by someone. Haha, our development, especially the development of the Dao Lords in the future, depend a lot on the exploration of forbidden lands. It's just that forbidden lands are too dangerous. Even the people of the Dao Lords don't dare to go in now. Generally speaking, only the heavenly lords would consider going in. Well, even if they did, they wouldn't dare to go too deep. Lei Xingfeng asked, Is the heaven monarch's strength not enough? Wu Yang said, The forbidden ground is too strange. Even if it can't kill a heaven monarch, it will still trap him. I've been there once and was almost trapped there. Even though I reacted quickly and escaped quickly, I was still severely injured. If it wasn't for my extremely effective medicine, even if I didn't die, I would still be severely injured. After that, I no longer entered the ancient era's forbidden grounds. Haha, as long as I don't enter, there won't be any danger. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, Did you gain anything from that trip? You look like a money grubber. Wu Yang couldn't help but laugh. Of course I gained something. I obtained a very strange treasure. It's just that I didn't understand how to use it all. Back then, I used this treasure to exchange for many things. Haha, it made me rich. Gucci said, Actually, outsiders also explore forbidden lands. Many of them died. It's normal for 7 or 8 of them to die in one go. They are bold, and their gains are big. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. After a while, he asked, How many forbidden lands are there? Wu Yang said, Many, many, but the most famous are 3 forbidden lands. Not only are they extremely large, but they're also extremely dangerous. Currently, only the periphery has been explored. The central area is impossible to enter. After countless years, countless people have died. Even the Dao Lords don't dare to go deep. As for the small forbidden lands, there are countless of them. There are also some medium-sized ancient era's forbidden lands. This is the ancient era. These forbidden lands are probably the worlds of people. We are all outsiders. Lei Xingfeng said, In other words, most of the gains are from the small forbidden lands. Wu Yang smiled. Of course, even the small forbidden lands occupy a frightening amount of land. Most of them are 100 square kilometers. Lei Xingfeng said, Will we accidentally enter? Wu Yang said, No, we definitely won't accidentally enter, because you can't walk in. There will be an invisible force blocking you. Even the small forbidden lands and the force on the periphery are useless, not even the Dao Lords, unless they find the entrance. However, the entrance is usually very clear. Follow the force, and you'll find the entrance very quickly. Gucci smiled. Yes, it's easy to find the entrance. But if you want to enter, you have to think carefully. The chances of death are at least 50/50ths. If you go deeper, the chances of death will increase rapidly. Lei Xingfeng smiled. Forget it. I don't need to think about it. I will die if I go in. No matter how many good things there are, they're not tempting to me. Gucci said, Actually, it's not accurate to call them ancient era's forbidden lands. According to our estimates, the forbidden lands should be hundreds of thousands of years old. The ancient era was only tens of thousands of years old. But who cares? Of course, no one cared. There was a big difference between tens of thousands of years and hundreds of thousands of years. But in the present, there was no difference. Anyway, it was the ancient era, an extremely ancient era. Cultivators were not archaeologists, and there were no archaeologists here. No one cared about the age. Although Lei Xingfeng said he wouldn't go, his heart was itching. He wanted to get rich, and he wanted to obtain the cultivation methods of the ancient era's cultivators. He also wanted to find some special treasures. Unfortunately, he could only itch in his heart. If he really went, he might not dare to enter. Lei Xingfeng said, "Then what does the ancient era's hidden Luan in our hometown have to do with the ancient era's forbidden lands?" Wu Yang, Guqi, and Feng Qinzong all laughed. Wu Yang shook his head. The two have nothing to do with each other, and the two can't be compared at all. You can see that if there is an ancient era's hidden Luan, only the disciples of the hidden sects will fight for it. It is impossible for a monarch rank expert to appear. You can see that the ancient era's hidden Luan is really nothing. Lei Xingfeng was immediately discouraged. He originally wanted to focus on the ancient era's hidden Luan, but after hearing what they said, it was meaningless. Feng Qinzong said, "Actually, it can't be said that it's meaningless. For us, it is indeed meaningless. But for you it is, because there are many things in the ancient era's hidden Luan that you can use." Wu Yang and Guqi didn't refute this time. The facts were there. Feng Qinzong was right. Lei Xingfeng nodded. "That's more like it. What suits you is the real treasure. If I enter the forbidden lands and luckily come out with a treasure, I probably won't be able to use it. I'll have to trade it for something else. That's too risky." Wu Yang was in a good mood. He said, "But if your luck is always so good, I can take you to a small forbidden land. Are you interested?" Guqi and Feng Qinzong were both surprised and excited. Although Guqi had been here a few times, he had never been to a forbidden land. Lei Xingfeng said, "Of course I'm interested." He wondered what his eyes could find in a forbidden land. Wu Yang had already treated Lei Xingfeng as a test subject. Originally, he would never go to a forbidden land again, but now he wanted to let Lei Xingfeng try his luck. But now wasn't the right time. He hadn't found a place he was familiar with. This place was completely foreign. Naturally, he couldn't go to a forbidden land. Lei Xingfeng's stomach rumbled. He said, I've been eating rations. Let's cook something today. Little martial uncle, can you go hunt some prey?" Feng Qinzong nodded and disappeared in an instant. Lei Xingfeng said, "Show off." I'll do it in the future too." Guqi laughed. "When you become a monarch, you can do it too." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "I'm just envious." Master, let me boil some water." It had been a long time since Lei Xingfeng cooked. Ever since Jean Depang came to the house, Lei Xingfeng hadn't cooked. This time, he had to do it himself. There was no reason to let his master and ancestor cook. Greasewood, steel shelves, and a large copper pot. Lei Xingfeng had several sets of such cooking utensils in his hidden Luan space. In the wild, Lei Xingfeng didn't know how to cook. He just cooked a mixture of dishes. Even if there wasn't any prey, he had enough ingredients. He took out a few pickled and air-dried pheasants. They were already very clean. He put them directly into clean water and started to light a fire. Greasewood was the easiest wood to burn. Soon, the flames rose. Wu Yang and Guqi watched Lei Xingfeng with great interest. Their expressions were similar. They were both very happy. He quickly cut the bacon into pieces and threw them into the copper pot. Only then did he close the lid and focus on the fire. Jean Depang prepared a lot of ingredients for Lei Xingfeng. Even if it was a mixture of dishes, he put them in a large box according to the ratio. As long as Lei Xingfeng put them in the pot according to the ratio, it would be better than his original mixture. There was a certain order to what to cook first and what to cook later. When the water boiled, Feng Qinzong came back with a giant buffalo. Lei Xingfeng said, "Holy shit, martial uncle, can't you hunt smaller prey?" "Whatever. Good thing I have a black wooden bucket to keep it fresh. Otherwise, it would be hard to deal with." Lei Xingfeng didn't know how to skin, remove the innards, remove the head, and chop off the hooves. He only kept the best parts of the buffalo. However, he didn't throw away the heart and liver. Instead, he washed them in the stream, cut them into pieces, and threw them into the copper pot. Large pieces of buffalo meat were thrown into the copper pot. Lei Xingfeng took out a few greasewood and put them into the fire. Dried mushrooms, dried bamboo shoots, and other dry things were thrown into the pot. Wu Yang said, "It smells so good." It was his first time seeing a mixture of dishes like this. Before, he always ate dry food when he went out. As a cultivator, He could go without food for a few days or eat dry food to fill his stomach. He didn't care too much about it in the wild. However, cultivators could eat a lot of food in one meal. Eating a few dozen pounds of meat was a piece of cake. The copper pot was as big as a water tank. It could cook at least a few 100 pounds of food, enough for 4 people. Chapter 292. The 4 of them chatted as they waited for a break. After cooking for 2 hours, Lei Xingfeng took out 4 small wooden basins and filled them to the brim. He smiled and said, "Let's eat." Xi and Feng loved to eat this kind of mixed vegetables. Due to the pickled pheasant and salted meat, he didn't even need to add salt, and this pot of food already tasted good. The meat was juicy and tender. With just a bite, Wu Yang couldn't help but praise, "Good, delicious." The black bird opened its eyes and said, "Where's the bird?" Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. "Ah, I forgot. Wait a moment." He took out another small wooden basin and filled it with pure meat. He smiled and said, "This is for you." He put the basin on the ground. The black bird spread its wings and flew down. It began to peck at the meat. The 4 people and 1 bird were all busy eating. Naturally, they didn't continue to talk. Wu Yang and Gucci were very satisfied with the meal. As for Feng Qinzong, he had already tried Lei Xingfeng's cooking. Of course, he was very satisfied. Lei Xingfeng sometimes sighed. In this life, the amount of food consumed for a meal was enough to eat at least a dozen meals in his previous life. This kind of appetite, in his previous life, was more than enough to be a big eater. Eating a few dozen pounds was like playing around. He didn't feel any pressure at all. He himself found it strange how he could eat so much after cultivating. The big pot of cooked meat was swept clean. The 4 people and 1 bird finally filled their stomachs. Of course, the black bird was far from full. It only ate a wooden basin. There was still half a basin left. After washing the tableware, Wu Yang said, "It's going to be dark soon. Let's rest here for the night and continue tomorrow." The night passed with the cries of ghosts and howls of wolves. There were too many beasts and animals here. Of course, these beasts and animals didn't dare to attack the 4 people. Just the aura they released was enough to scare away all the beasts. Early in the morning, the black bird was busy cleaning its wings and feathers. Then it used its sharp beak to peck Lei Xingfeng's ears a few times and said, "Birdman, it's dawn." Lei Xingfeng opened his eyes and said, "What kind of birdman is this? That's so unpleasant to hear. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll strangle you to death." The black bird said aggrievedly, "You're bullying me again. Gah." Lei Xingfeng raised his hand and slapped it down from his shoulder. Then he shot out a bolt of lightning and struck the black bird. Amidst the crackling sounds, the black bird trembled for a few minutes. Lei Xingfeng shot out another bolt of lightning. After 3 consecutive strikes, he stopped and said, "Done." The black bird hopped over unsteadily. It couldn't even fly. Using its 2 little claws, it crawled back to Lei Xingfeng's shoulder step by step. It continued to shake for a while before it finally stopped. It said, "The bird is dead." Caw! Half of the feathers on its body were already glowing blue. It was about to turn into blue feathers. Feng Qinzong laughed. "This bird's strength is increasing very quickly." Lei Xingfeng said, "Cultivating like this every day, of course its strength would increase very quickly. What a pity." He felt it was a pity that he couldn't find a suitable thunderstorm. He could only painstakingly cultivate. This kind of progress made him feel like breaking down. It was too slow. The blackbird actually liked to talk, but it needed to digest Lei Xingfeng's lightning every day, so it was always in a daze. The only thing it needed to do was grab onto Lei Xingfeng's collar and press its body against Lei Xingfeng's neck. This way, it could focus on absorbing the lightning without thinking about anything else. Feng Qinzong walked to the stream and splashed some water to wash his face. The canyon was still a little dark in the early morning, but when he looked up, the gray sky was already starting to glow. When the first ray of sunlight shone on the bottom of the canyon, the four of them were ready to get up. Lei Xingfeng asked, "How do we go?" Wu Yang said, "Just follow me." Lei Xingfeng sometimes thought that if he were in Wu Yang's position, how would he deal with the problem? For example, how would a leader find the place he wanted to go? Wu Yong flew to the top of the canyon. He looked around and then led the three of them to the west. Lei Xingfeng said, "Master, we haven't seen the others yet. Where would they go?" Gucci said that I don't know. The outer space is extremely vast. We can't see the end of it. Through the secret space door, we all know that we're in the same place, but it's basically impossible to meet. Every time we teleport, if we don't hold hands, it's inevitable that we'll be separated. We can only meet again when we return. Lei Xingfeng said, "Last time in the Great Stone Fields, we saw a stone star beast. Are there a lot of star beasts here?" Gucci said, "There are very few star beasts in the outer space. It can't be compared to here. Even so, it's difficult to see a star beast. Generally speaking, a star beast hunting range is about 10,000 kilometers. As long as you enter this range, you're likely to be the star beast's prey. However, we're too small. Even if we see a star beast, it might not treat us as food." Wu Yang interrupted, "Yes. If you don't provoke a star beast, it won't attack humans. But, if you want the star beast materials, you can't get them without fighting." Gucci said, "But you don't need to rush. Even junior brother Feng doesn't need to rush. You don't need the star beast materials for now. Those things are more advanced. Collecting them requires a certain amount of skill. When your strength reaches a certain level, then you can consider how to hunt a star beast." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "Master, have you hunted a star beast before?" Gucci said with a smile, "I don't have such great ability. However, your ancestor has hunted a star beast before." Lei Xingfeng said, "Ancestor, what kind of star beast did you hunt?" Wu Yang said, "It was hunted by several people who were all Lord of Heaven Realm experts. At that time, I had just advanced to the Lord of Heaven Realm. That hunt was really dangerous. Almost everyone was injured. It wasn't easy to kill it. If there was a Tao Lord, it wouldn't have been so difficult." Lei Xingfeng said, "Good heavens. Star beasts are so abnormal." Wu Yang said, "You were in the Great Stone Fields. It's not like you haven't seen the power of star beasts." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. When he was in the Great Stone Fields, he couldn't even get close to the stone star beasts. The sky full of stone eggs formed a terrifying blockade. Let alone hunting star beasts, he couldn't even see them clearly, let alone hunt them. According to Gucci, if Lei Xingfeng saw a star beast, he should run away immediately and never get close to it. Although star beasts wouldn't take the initiative to kill people, it was mainly because humans weren't their food. However, if he got too close, he couldn't guarantee that the star beast would suddenly attack him. This was something that Lei Xingfeng couldn't bear. Lei Xingfeng agreed. What a joke. He didn't want to have any conflicts with star beasts. He would just run away. After all, his current strength was too low. He was no match for star beasts at all. Wu Yang said, "Feng, your only task here is to find materials, not to hunt. Whether it was star beasts or wild beasts, he couldn't deal with them. Even if they were fierce beasts, it would be difficult for him to deal with them. For example, Lei Xingfeng couldn't resist the double-headed golden eagle that he saw when he first came here." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. He could hear the concern of the founder and master. He also knew that he was weak. Sometimes he had a strange feeling. He was like an unarmed, ordinary person here, but in his hometown, he was a truly powerful giant. The gap was a bit big. This time, he was only here to experience and help Wu Yang collect more materials. Last but not least, he wanted to make it back alive. This place wasn't something he could come to often. Just being able to experience it once was already a great fortune. Lei Xingfeng thought to himself, "Let's be real. This place is too high-end. It's not a place for people like us to mess around. Of course, we can't let go of this opportunity to get more materials. Even if we can't use them, we can exchange them for rings or give them to friends." Suddenly, a huge stone pillar appeared in front of them. Upon closer inspection, they realized that this stone pillar was naturally formed. It was 3,000 meters tall and a few hundred meters in diameter. It pierced straight into the sky. Wu Yang was overjoyed. "I know this place. Sky Pillar. This is Sky Pillar Stone." He took out a map made from star python skin in the air and began to match the previous terrain with the original. He smiled. Very good, very good. I've already explored a few places. I always thought that they were rich in resources. It's just that I didn't have time to stay here. Let's go there this time. Lei Xingfeng said, "This stone pillar is naturally formed? It's unbelievable." Wu Yang said, "This is a famous landmark stone pillar. Many maps use this as the center and expand in all directions. There are many similar landmarks here. Hee, this is one of the more famous ones. Sky Pillar Stone." Lei Xingfeng thought, this thing might be a Rui Jingu Bang. Too bad I'm not Sun Wukong. It really is like a huge stick stuck in the ground. Lei Xingfeng sighed. Once they found a landmark stone pillar, Wu Yang knew where to go. This was much better than running around aimlessly in unfamiliar territory. Who knew if they would run into dangerous areas? Feng Qinzong laughed. A stick? A Feng, you're really daring. Gucci said, "It really looks like it from afar. No wonder it's a landmark." Wu Yang said, "There are many similar landmarks all over this world. Let's go." He flew into the distance. Everyone followed him. Wu Yang explained as he flew, "This area is full of mountains. We can't fly out without at least 10 days. However, we don't need to fly out of the mountains. I know a place with various mineral veins. It's a pity that we don't have much time to excavate. We can only find some that are worth excavating. I still lack 2 types of ores. That place has them, so I'll have to trouble everyone to help me mine." Lei Xingfeng said, "Grandmaster, no problem. I'll help you." He was the best at mining. In his past life, he had nothing to do with mining. But in this life, with his eyes, he could dig out the best quality ores. This period of time was the most critical period for Gucci's secret sect. Wu Yang wanted to break through to the Tao Lord realm, while Gucci wanted to break through to the Heavenly Lord realm. Previously, Feng Qinzong had just broken through. Wu Yang and Gucci had spent a lot of materials and yin rings. In order for Wu Yang and Gucci to break through, both master and disciple needed a lot of materials and yin rings. Especially this time, they'd spent a lot of yin rings on this trip to the outer realm. The two of them were a little stretched. Chapter 293. It was time to earn some yin rings. The reason Wu Yang brought Lei Xingfeng with him was because this guy was extremely lucky. Half of their hopes of earning money this time rested on him. Turning left and right, they continued forward. After flying for about 2 days and resting for 1 night, Wu Yang brought them to the foot of a mountain. Not far away was a huge canyon with a 1,000-meter wide waterfall beside it. Even from afar, they could hear the rumbling of water. A rainbow flew above the waterfall. Wu Yang pointed at the mountain beside him and said, "This mountain range is very famous. It's called the 1,000 Gold Mountain Range." Why is it called the 1,000 Gold Mountain Range? Because there are at least a few hundred types of mineral veins gathered here. From the mountain range to the canyon below, there are large amounts of mineral veins. The 2 types of minerals that I need this time can be found here, and the quality is quite good too. The only annoying thing is that these 2 types of mineral veins are not continuous, but are distributed in spots. In other words, the old method of digging along the veins is not suitable. Lei Xingfeng immediately understood. He was the best at this type of mineral. Digging in spots was very painful because you didn't know where the ore was and where it wasn't. If you randomly picked a spot to dig, you wouldn't be able to find any ore. It was no wonder that Wu Yang lacked these 2 types of minerals. He had probably collected all the other types of mineral veins already. Wu Yang said, "These 2 types of minerals are associated with each other, so it's even harder to find them. All right, everyone follow me. We're going to the mining area." From the foot of the mountain, they flew directly into the canyon, all the way to the bottom of the waterfall. They followed the river formed by the waterfall and walked down. There weren't many trees here, only shrubs and weeds. Wu Yang explained that because huge floods often occurred here, any large trees would be washed away. Therefore, there were only a few small trees and weeds that had been growing for a few years at the bottom of the canyon. There were traces left behind by the flood on the cliff. The highest point reached more than 50 meters above the cliff. It was easy to imagine how big the flood was. Lei Xingfeng discovered an interesting problem. These water traces should have been there for a while. He asked, "Founder, is there a pattern to the flood here?" Wu Yang smiled. "Did you see the marks on the cliff?" Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "Yes, the traces left behind by the water are too clear. It's hard not to notice." Wu Yang said, "At the top of this canyon, there's a huge lake. Hee, that's where a Mercury star beast once lived. Later, that Mercury star beast was killed by a few people, and the flood completely disappeared. This should be something that happened more than 10 years ago. It caused quite a stir." Lei Xingfeng said in surprise, You're saying that the flood was caused by the Mercury beast?" Wu Yang nodded. "That's right. There is no flood now." Lei Xingfeng said, No wonder. That watermark at the highest point must have been left behind when the Mercury beast was killed. 50 meters high. How much water did the flood have to be to reach such a height? It was terrifying just looking at it. Feng Shenzong didn't understand. What's so scary about a flood? Just fly away. Lei Xingfeng shook his head. He couldn't explain the memories from his past life. He changed the topic. "Founder, have we arrived yet?" Wu Yang said, "There's still some distance left. We'll be there soon." The canyon went deeper and deeper. It was a huge downward slope. The bottom of the canyon was sloping downwards. After a while, Wu Yang said, "We're here." Everyone hovered in the air and saw Wu Yang stop at a crack in the canyon wall. Wu Yang said, "This place has been hollowed out. Inside is the mining surface. Originally, there was a zinc concentrate here, but later on, we discovered that there were two other associated ores. Actually, zinc concentrate isn't much, and the outer world also has it, but these two associated ores are very precious." The three followed Wu Yang into the crack. In the middle of the canyon wall, there was a hole as tall as two people. Wu Yang walked in, and the other three followed. Xian Feng released his lightning stamp, instantly lighting up the surroundings. The lightning stamp could not only protect one's body, but also illuminate the area. The lightning stamp itself was able to emit an extremely bright light. Green rocks and dripping water could be heard. The walls were wet as they followed the passage. After a while, a huge cave appeared. This was a huge hole that had been hollowed out. With the means of cultivators, especially true monarchs, creating such a huge hole was not a problem at all. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Founder, which two minerals are you looking for?" Wu Yang was a little embarrassed. He took out two raw ores and said, "These two. Do you recognize them?" Xian Feng picked up a piece of ore. It was a piece of black mixed with light blue dots, as if there were countless stars in it. It was a very beautiful piece of rock. He spoke, "I recognize this piece. It's a star stone. I've seen in the Star Python records. It's a very rare material." In fact, he didn't know much about Zaystar stone. This was a material that heaven monarchs could use. It was very difficult to purify and also very difficult to find. He picked up another raw ore. It was a silver stone, but it was very light in his hand. It was like aluminum in his previous life. However, he knew in his heart that it was definitely not aluminum. He said, "I don't recognize this." Wu Yang said, "This is minute silver stone. It can be refined into silk silver. It is a very precious material. I urgently need it now, and I need a lot of it." Lei Xingfeng could clearly see that the Zaystar stone emitted a light blue light, and the minute silver stone emitted a silver light. As long as these two ores were produced here, he was confident that he could find them. Feng Shenzong was in despair. How was he going to mine them? Hollow out the entire cliff? Without the guidance of the veins, there was no way to start. Even Gucci's face became serious. He said, "This is not easy to find." Wu Yang said unhappily, "Nonsense, of course it is not easy. Otherwise, why would I bring a phone here?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Founder, master, don't worry. Let me think of a way." The two immediately stared at Lei Xingfeng. That kind of intense light was about to burn Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "I haven't checked yet." "Hey, founder, master, don't look at me like that. It's scary." Feng Qinzong couldn't help but laugh. As soon as he turned around, Lei Xingfeng saw the stone wall emitting a silver light. Lei Xingfeng paused for a moment and immediately understood. This was a minute silverstone mine. He couldn't help but laugh. This was only the entrance, and they already found a mine. How many were there inside? He said, "Let me try." The chaos wheel struck the stone wall. Lei Xingfeng didn't have any other digging tools, so he used the chaos wheel directly. Boom! The chaos wheel's attack was very sharp. With just one hit, the stone wall was shattered. After 2 hits, Wu Yang shouted, "Stop!" He already saw the minute silver stone in the stone. Lei Xingfeng put away the chaos wheel and smiled. "Founder, this should be minute silver stone, right? You played dumb." Wu Yang's voice changed. He'd been here at least 3 times, but the amount of minute silver stone he dug out was pitifully small. Each time he came full of hope, but each time he left disappointed. He couldn't believe it. "A phone, you... How did you know there was minute silver stone here?" Lei Xingfeng said innocently. "I just used the chaos wheel to test it out. I didn't expect there to be minute silver stone here." Thinking about it, Xian Feng had indeed said that he would try, but he couldn't understand why he would be able to find a nest of final silver stones just by trying. It was simply ridiculous. Although he couldn't understand the logic behind it, it didn't stop him from digging. A mine of minute silver stone really wasn't much. Wu Yang personally worked and only got a dozen pieces. If he purified them, there wouldn't be much left. Feng Qinzong smiled. "This luck, I'm envious." Guqi said, "No one will pay attention to this place. It's right at the entrance, so no one will dig." Haha, A Feng's luck is really good. He couldn't figure out the reason, so he could only attribute it to luck. Lei Xingfeng had thought it through long ago. As long as he showed some miracles, then as long as he searched for materials, his master and founder would think of him. Not only could he help them find materials, he could also take advantage of the opportunity to gain a lot of benefits. This kind of killing several birds with one stone, the more the better. Wu Yang smiled and rubbed Lei Xingfeng's head. "I'm full of hope for this harvest. A Feng, I'm counting on you." They came 3 times, and this was the 4th time. This time, the harvest at the entrance was about the same as the previous 3 times. Wu Yang had to admit that bringing Lei Xingfeng this time was definitely worth it. He believed that this time, they wouldn't only find 1 minute silver stone mine. Following the tunnel that had been dug by others, Lei Xingfeng kept looking around. Then he silently looked ahead. Other than the mine at the entrance, he didn't find anything unusual. In other words, there were no ores here. In the entire mine, the tunnels extended in all directions. The excavation inside was like a spider web. Lei Xingfeng, who was next to Lei Yin, could see everything within a few dozen meters. Going deep into the mining area, Lei Xingfeng still didn't find these 2 ores. There were other ores, but his interest wasn't on the other ores, so he basically ignored them. Lei Xingfeng calculated carefully. After entering here, he was at least 1 kilometer away from the entrance. In other words, he had already reached the bottom. Looking at the tunnels that extended in all directions, he didn't know which way to go. This place seemed to have been hollowed out. He didn't know how many experts had stayed here. Wu Yang was a little disappointed. "You didn't find anything?" Guqi laughed. "Master, you're too anxious." Hee. Wu Yang sighed. "Yes, I'm a little anxious. Well, there's really nothing here. It's almost hollowed out. Hee. I'm also a little dizzy. Come, everyone, follow me." After choosing a tunnel, Wu Yang walked in. Lei Xingfeng followed closely behind. He said, "Founder, this place should be hollowed out. There shouldn't be any ores here." Wu Yang said, I know. I'm just a little dizzy." Soon, everyone came to a huge hole. Wu Yang didn't stop. He found a natural crack in the rock wall and said, "I remember that under this crack I once dug out a little bit of minute silver stone. Later, because of the lack of time, I didn't find any after exploring dozens of spots. I gave up. This time, let a Feng try." Chapter 294. This was an extremely narrow crevice. As they followed the crevice, the inside gradually became spacious. They could see countless holes in the stone walls and piles of gravel on the ground. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Ancestor, did you dig all of this?" Wu Yang's face turned slightly red as he said, "Most of it was dug by me. There's a small portion that should have been dug by other cultivators." Lei Xingfeng glanced over and saw that there was indeed a silver light on this side of the stone wall. However, there was only a small amount of light. He knew that there was no mine here. There was only a small amount of minute silverstone. No wonder Ancestor couldn't dig it out. Wu Yang was full of expectation and said, "How is it?" Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Ancestor, it's not that great." Wu Yang immediately deflated and said, "Sigh, only this place has minute silverstone and luster star stone. There might be other places with these two types of ores, but I don't know where they are." Lei Xingfeng said, "Ancestor, don't worry. We have only seen a small portion of the mine. Anyway, there is still time." After reaching the outer space, there was a time limit for returning. If they didn't return by the time limit, they wouldn't be able to return. They would need to borrow someone else's space-time secret door to return. Therefore, time here was very precious. As they walked along the stone wall, Lei Xingfeng stopped to check from time to time. The other three were powerless and could only follow Lei Xingfeng. Anyway, there were only rocks in sight. They were all messy rocks that had been dug out. The three of them didn't know where there were ores and where there weren't. According to Wu Yang's original temper, he would just randomly dig. If he dug out something, he would make a profit. If he didn't, it would be normal. Lei Xingfeng wasn't interested in small amounts of ore. Not only did it take a lot of time, the harvest was too small. He absolutely didn't want to dig for it. If Wu Yang knew that Lei Xingfeng was thinking like this, he would probably fly into a rage. With his current mood, even if he could dig up a piece of ore, it would be good. Soon, they arrived at the bottom of the crevice. There was no way out. Lei Xingfeng retreated dozens of meters, pointed at a stone wall, and said, "Grandmaster, attack once, but don't use too much power." At this moment, Wu Yang was absolutely obedient. Whatever Lei Xingfeng said, he did as he was told. With a palm strike, the stone wall collapsed with a loud boom, and a thick cloud of dust rose into the air. After a short while, the smoke and dust dispersed, revealing a cave entrance. Behind it, there was another crack, but it was blocked by the stone wall, so he couldn't see it before. Wu Yang asked curiously, "How did you know there was a crack here?" Lei Xingfeng giggled. "I guessed." Gucci said, "How miraculous." "I didn't see it either. It was empty behind here." Lei Xingfeng rushed into the crack. Wu Yang and Gucci looked at each other and followed. Feng Qinzong shook his head. He knew that his master and senior brother were a bit desperate, but he still had a lot of confidence in Lei Xingfeng. This crack was newly opened. No one had entered it yet. The crack was 2 meters wide, and it was an inverted triangle with a wide top and a narrow bottom. Therefore, it was impossible to stand on solid ground here. Lei Xingfeng flew up after entering. Following the crack, Lei Xingfeng saw a large hole a few minutes later. It was a naturally formed cave. Landing on both feet, Lei Xingfeng's mind moved slightly, and Lei Yin emitted a dazzling light. In this cave, Lei Xingfeng finally discovered the light on the stone wall. It was really colorful. It wasn't just the light from the final silver and Zay starstones, but there were other lights as well. Lei Xingfeng knew that there were other ores here, but before he dug them out, he didn't know what they were. This was his biggest advantage. Looking for the silver and light blue lights, these were the signs of the final silver and Zay starstones hidden behind the stone wall. Seeing Lei Xingfeng smile, Wu Yang let out a sigh of relief. Then he became excited. "A phone, how is it?" Lei Xingfeng smiled. "Seems like my luck is pretty good. Since it's my first time here, I'm sure I'll find something." The cave was 10 meters high and 20 meters wide. It was gourd-shaped, and the walls were dark. Under Lei Yin's light, it emitted a faint green color. This was what Wu Yang and the others saw, but what Lei Xingfeng saw was completely different. Lei Xingfeng pointed at a stone wall and said, "Here, dig from here." Wu Yang didn't need Gucci or Feng Qinzong to do anything. He personally did it. He didn't use any tools and directly attacked. Any hard stone wall was extremely fragile under his attack. The wall was instantly broken. When he saw the ore in the wall, Wu Yang couldn't help but shout, "Good! Zaystar stone, or..." "Huh." Lei Xingfeng said, "Master, you dig here." Gucci aimed at the stone wall and attacked. In an instant, a large pile of rubble fell. When the dust settled, he said in surprise, "A phone. You're too amazing. How did you know?" He really couldn't understand. This stone wall was the same as the rocks on the side. But how did Lei Xingfeng know that there was a mind behind it? This was simply unimaginable. How could he know that Lei Xingfeng could see the light emitted by the ore? Wu Yang didn't even bother to dig for the Zhe Starstone. He immediately rushed to Gucci's side. When he saw the Zhe Starstone, he couldn't help but be shocked. "A Feng, you're amazing." Feng Qinzong, aside from giving Lei Xingfeng the credit for obtaining the sky crystal in the Great Stone Field, had never seen Lei Xingfeng's miraculous abilities. He stared dumbfounded. After a while, he sighed and said, "What kind of ability is this?" "A Feng won't have to worry about materials in the future." Lei Xingfeng said, "Okay, let's start digging. I'll also find a place to dig." He had long since set his eyes on a place that was emitting a strong golden light. Feng Qinzong said, "A Feng, where should I dig?" In fact, there was, or in any place that was dug. It was just that they didn't know this secret. So Lei Xingfeng secretly laughed. He pointed casually and said, "There should be some here. Junior Marshal Uncle, try." Feng Qinzong immediately became happy. He said, "Okay, I'll do it." That was also a mine of Zhe silver. Wu Yang needed a large amount of Zhe silver to refine silk, so Lei Xingfeng didn't plan to collect it himself. After all, he was only a ninth ring sage, not even a monarch. What use would he have for monarch materials? So he directly gave up. The cave was gourd-shaped. Wu Yang and the other two were outside, but Lei Xingfeng ran inside. He came to the stone wall and struck out with the chaos wheel. He didn't have Wu Yang's ability to break open the stone wall with his bare hands. It was easier for him to use the chaos wheel, and he could also control his strength. Boom! The chaos wheel hit the stone wall, and the force was very evenly distributed. In an instant, a pile of rubble fell down. Lei Xingfeng went closer to take a look. Lei Xingfeng didn't recognize the ore inside. It was a kind of golden stone, and of course it wasn't gold. Lei Xingfeng wouldn't be wrong about that. This kind of ore was mixed with a trace of purple. Lei Xingfeng thought for a long time, but still couldn't figure out what kind of ore it was. However, he knew it was something good. To be able to emit such an eye-catching light, it definitely wasn't ordinary. A steel spear suddenly appeared in his hand. Lei Xingfeng used the spear to pry open the ore. After a few minutes, the ore was dug clean. There were a total of 18 pieces of ore. The largest was the size of a bowl, and the smallest was the size of an egg. Lei Xingfeng once again used the chaos wheel to chop down. He was practically digging along the way. The ore here was simply rich to the extreme. All kinds of ore were dug out. Some he recognized, some he didn't. These were all his gains. During the time between digging, Lei Xingfeng paid special attention to Wu Yang and the others. Once they finished digging, he would run back to give them some pointers and tell them where to find the ore. Wu Yang was simply crazy with joy. Not only were there minute silver stone and luster star stone, there were also other ores. Although he couldn't use some of them, he could definitely exchange them for materials he needed. Some of them were quite precious. Lei Xingfeng's digging speed was extremely fast. The chaos will continuously chop down. He was excavating a large area. Very soon, he had dug through the stone wall. Then, he raised his head and looked at the top. Sure enough, there was still light. Without caring about anything else, he chopped up with the chaos wheel. Large pieces of rock fell to the ground. Then he began to pick up the ores. Wu Yang and the others' digging speed was much slower. They dug very carefully, fearing that they would miss something. Finding ores was really not easy. They didn't want to miss this opportunity. A large number of ores were extracted. The entire stone cave expanded in size. After digging for a full 4 days, they finally dug out all the ores. Of course, some of them were also mixed in with the gravel under Lei Xingfeng's barbaric digging. Wu Yang was grinning from ear to ear. This time, he had already collected the 2 materials he needed. Next time, he wouldn't have to worry about these 2 materials. Of course, he was very happy. He patted Lei Xingfeng's shoulder with great force. With just one slap, the blackbird was sent flying. The blackbird squawked and cursed. Who is it? Who is it? Disturbing my good sleep. Who? His mama. Mama. It suddenly realized that it was Wu Yang. It was so scared that it immediately shut its mouth. After a caw, it circled in the air and landed back on Lei Xingfeng's shoulder, pretending to be dead. Lei Xingfeng found it funny. What do you mean by mama? The blackbird ignored him and hid its head in its wings. It didn't want to provoke Wu Yang. Wu Yang was in a good mood. Of course, he wouldn't argue with a blackbird. A foe was worth it. Bringing you here was really worth it. Ha ha ha, Gucci said. This is no longer luck. I can't even begin to describe it. To be able to find so many materials, it's too exaggerated. Even he had returned from a rewarding journey with all sorts of materials. Wu Yang didn't care about the other materials, but the two most important materials were all gathered. This surprised him a little. Of course, he brought Lei Xingfeng here with this idea in mind, but to be able to realize it so quickly still surprised him. Feng Qinzong said, "Are we still looking for ores?" Wu Yang laughed. "What's there to look for? Haha, let's get out of here. I've been here for so long that I'm about to throw up. Every time I come here, I finally don't have to." Lei Xingfeng could see Wu Yang's resentment. In order to find ores, he probably had to suffer every time he came here. Chapter 295. Gucci said, "Since we've gathered everything, let's go out. To be honest, I don't want to stay here for too long. It's too suffocating underground." The four retreated the way they came. Lei Xingfeng made a mental note of this place. If there was a chance in the future, he would come back. There were too many ores here. It was indeed a treasure trove. Other cultivators would often be helpless here. Not only was this place like a maze, but after countless people had dug, it was extremely difficult to find the ores. Lei Xingfeng didn't have this problem. As long as he came here and had time to search, he would definitely be able to find the ores. Soon, the four of them came out from the crack in the rock. Looking at the bright sunlight outside, everyone's mood relaxed a lot. Wu Yang said, "We can rest for a day. The past few days have been too stressful for us." Once the materials were gathered, he didn't want to continue working hard. Resting and relaxing would make it easier for him to explore. Lei Xingfeng said, "Okay, let's find a suitable place to rest." Feng Qinzong laughed. "Why don't we fly to the top of the canyon? It's a bit dark here. It's more comfortable up there." Wu Yang agreed. "Okay, let's go up." At this time, he was very easy to talk to. He would listen to anyone's suggestion because he was too happy. The four of them jumped up and flew straight up. After a while, the four of them flew to the top of the canyon. There were many flat rocks here. Wu Yang landed on a flat rock. He said, "Let's rest here. We can also bask in the sun and get rid of the moisture on our bodies." Actually, there was no dampness at all. With their cultivation, there was no dampness at all. It was just an excuse. Everyone agreed and sat down. This time, Lei Xingfeng didn't cook. Instead, they took out their own rations to eat. As Lei Xingfeng ate, he thought of the golden rock he dug out. He took out a fist-sized golden rock and asked, "Ancestor, master, what kind of ore is this?" Wu Yang reached out and took it. He glanced at it and smiled. "You're using it. You don't even know it. This is thunder gold. It's a very rare thing. It's a metal used by thunder cultivators." You can use it. This kind of thing is usually used by thunder cultivators. It's a good material." Gucci took it and looked. "I know about thunder gold, but this is the first time I've seen it. We don't have any use for it. This is for you." Feng Qinzong giggled. Materials suitable for lightning attribute cultivators are the hardest to find. But I have faith in you, he. Lei Xingfeng had heard of thunder gold and knew how to use it, but he had never seen it before. So even if he dug it out, he wouldn't know that this golden rock was the famous thunder gold. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. "Ah, good. I was just about to strengthen my Lei Yin and Chaos Wheel. This is one of the most important materials. This is great." Thunder attribute materials were very rare. In this place where materials were abundant, Lei Xingfeng only found thunder gold. It could be considered a material for his own use. He could use some of the other materials, but there was only one material for his own use. This was something that only Wu Yang recognized. Having a grandmaster by his side was like having an encyclopedia of the other world. Lei Xingfeng happily put away the Thunder Gold, or, now that he knew it was Thunder Gold, he also knew how to use it. This time, he had a great harvest. He knew that he could use at most 5 or 6 pieces of Thunder Gold to strengthen his Chaos Wheel and Lei Yin. The extra Thunder Gold could be given to Yi. Lei Xingfeng's face was full of smiles. Like Wu Yang and Gucci, his face was blooming with excitement. Only Feng Qinzong had a bitter expression. He wasn't so lucky. None of the materials he found were what he needed. Lei Xingfeng laughed. Young martial uncle, you also dug up a lot of ores. You could pay back your debt now. Feng Qinzong thought about it and agreed. Although he couldn't use the ores he dug up this time, he could exchange them for a lot of yin rings. Last time, he had a huge debt. This time, he borrowed the yin rings to use the secret door of time and space. When he returned, he would have to pay them back. Thinking about the harvest this time, the pressure in his heart lessened. He said, "It's all thanks to a phone. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what to do." Wu Yang suddenly turned his head and looked to the side. Then Gucci stood up. Feng Qinzong said, "Someone's coming." Here, Lei Xingfeng's reaction was the slowest. It was his fault for being the weakest. He asked, "What's wrong? Who's coming?" As he spoke, he stood up as well. 2 streaks of light flashed across the sky. In an instant, 2 figures appeared. They were only a few hundred meters away. Lei Xingfeng immediately saw them clearly. He said in surprise, "What are these things?" They were indeed in human form, but there was a huge difference between them and the others. They all had a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. They were no different from Lei Xingfeng and the others. However, their heads were huge and their bodies were extremely thick. Their arms and legs were long, and their palms were like palm leaf fans. They looked like giants. In comparison, Lei Xingfeng and the others were thin and weak. Compared to them, they had thin arms and legs. Their small bodies were like the difference between a child and an adult. Lei Xingfeng said, "Outsiders." Wu Yang and Gucci flew into the air. Lei Xingfeng and Feng Qinzong also flew up. They were slightly more than 3 meters tall. They looked extremely large and oppressive. They also noticed Lei Xingfeng and the others. Looking at the situation, they seemed to be hesitating whether or not to charge over. Wu Yang stood at the front. His aura was fully released. The overwhelming aura crushed the 2 outsiders, making them hesitate. It was Lei Xingfeng's first time facing outsiders. In fact, they were outsiders as well. It was just that there was a huge difference between the 2 races. Gucci whispered, "Once you make a move, go all out." Feng Qinzong and Lei Xingfeng were both here for the first time. They were both a little nervous. Both sides were in a deadlock for the time being. Wu Yang didn't take the initiative to attack either. He couldn't figure out the strength of the other side. Sometimes, there would be extremely powerful people among these outsiders, and sometimes their strength would be very weak. Before the fight, no one could figure it out, so it was best not to fight. Lei Xingfeng was also very curious. He didn't know why his ancestor didn't make a move. However, he was the youngest. No matter what happened, it wasn't his turn to take the lead. This was Lei Xingfeng's first time seeing an outsider. He was naturally curious. He was carefully on guard. Although he hadn't flown out Lei Yin and the Chaos Wheel yet, he was ready to attack. Soon, Lei Xingfeng found that the other 2 seemed to be a little scared. They slowly retreated. Wu Yang still didn't make a move. He just quietly hovered in the air with his hands behind his back. He looked at the other side with a cold expression. Lei Xingfeng let out a sigh of relief. It was very dangerous to fight here. Who knew what kind of powerful creatures would be attracted? So both sides were quite restrained. Both sides were like top bows. The slightest movement would trigger a fight. Confrontation was very tiring. Both sides slowly retreated. Although their speed was very slow, they were still retreating. A few birds suddenly swept past the middle of the confrontation between the 2 sides. In an instant, a huge pressure exploded. Those few birds immediately collapsed and fell from the sky while wailing. Wu Yang sighed and struck the air with his palm. Suddenly, An illusory palm appeared in the air and pressed down with a loud bang. A sharp whistling sound rang out. The two outsiders suddenly shouted and their bodies flickered. They disappeared from where they were and reappeared 30 meters away in the air. Wu Yang's palm missed. He then heard Wu Yang shout, "Fight!" Lei Xingfeng didn't dare to be careless. Lei Yin rose and slashed out with the chaos wheel. Gucci shouted, "A Feng, protect yourself." He didn't want Lei Xingfeng to fight at all. What a joke. Lei Xingfeng was the weakest. A ninth ring sage was nothing here. The little guy was ignorant and fearless. He actually dared to attack. Boom! Wu Yang and one of the outsiders exchanged a blow. The outsider was sent flying like a rubber ball. He couldn't block Wu Yang's attack at all. Then Gucci and Feng Qinzong engaged the other outsider. 2 against 1, the outsider was at a disadvantage. Lei Xingfeng suddenly used the chaos wheel. Even if he couldn't kill the outsider, he could at least harass him a little. Wu Yang chased after the outsider. He was too strong. The outsider tried his best to escape, but Lei Xingfeng discovered that the outsider was still very strong. Wu Yang was a heavenly monarch. The fact that the outsider could escape from a heavenly monarch was a testament to his strength. Gucci and Feng Qinzong worked together. The two of them also made their opponents cry out in pain. Lei Xingfeng immediately felt reassured. With their strength, they would definitely win. At this time, Lei Xingfeng sent out a few attacks. He immediately discovered that he was indeed much weaker. The other side only flashed casually, and all his attacks missed. He couldn't even touch them. His heart turned cold. If he met these two alone, he probably wouldn't even know how he died. The two outsiders only exchanged a few blows before they began to flee. They weren't stupid. If they continued to fight, they would be seeking death. Those who could move around here were all powerful and experienced people. Once they realized something was wrong, their first thought would be to run. Wu Yang symbolically chased after them for a while before calling out to Gucci and Feng Qinzong. He watched as the two escaped into the distance. Lei Xingfeng caught up and said, "Those two are very strong." Wu Yang smiled. One has the strength of an early heavenly monarch, and the other has the strength of a peak true monarch. Of course they're strong. Lei Xingfeng was shocked. No wonder he couldn't even touch them. They were so strong. Gucci smiled. The outsiders who can come here are like us. They're not weak. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to survive. This is one of the reasons why we don't let ninth ring sages come. It's too easy to die. In fact, Gucci didn't mention another important reason. If they came here, they'd have to spend too many yin rings. Every time they came, they'd lose money. This kind of loss was unbearable for both true monarchs and heavenly monarchs. The battle just now had left a deep impression on Exine Feng. This outsider had a patterned light barrier around his body, as if it was a tortoise shell. It looked rather comical, but Exine Feng knew in his heart that this tortoise shell was something he couldn't break. Chapter 296. Gucci said, "They haven't used their full strength yet. If they transform, they'll be even harder to deal with." Lei Xingfeng said, "Transform? What do you mean?" Wu Yang said, "It's a skill we don't know. It's very powerful. You don't have to worry about it now. Wait until you become a monarch and come here again. You'll see it one day." Gucci also said, "Don't think too much. You didn't come here to fight." Exine Feng laughed bitterly. He was being looked down upon, but thinking about his master's words, it made sense. He wasn't here to fight in the first place, but to mine for materials. If he could help his master and ancestor find enough materials, then he would have completed his mission. As for the battle, he would leave it to these two experts to complete. Wu Yang said, "Let's leave this place." Feng Qinzong said, "Didn't we defeat them? Why are we in such a hurry to leave?" It was also his first time here. There were some things he didn't understand. Wu Yang said, "If they find another monarch realm expert, we'll be the ones running away. If we leave now, we won't be in any danger. Anything can happen here. There's nothing wrong with being careful." Gucci said, "It's best not to stay in one place for too long. You have to move around often. That way, the danger will be less." Feng Qinzong nodded. Yes, he was still learning. Of course, he had to listen to his master and senior brother. Lei Xingfeng found that whether it was his ancestor or his master, they were all very careful. They didn't get carried away after defeating the outsiders. Wu Yang said, "Right, I'll take you to the small forbidden area. Haha, mainly to let a Feng see it." Lei Xingfeng said happily, Okay, let's go to the forbidden area." He was very curious about the forbidden area. He wanted to see what it was like. The four of them hurriedly left. About a few hours after the four of them left, a total of 6 outsiders returned. They wandered around the area for a long time, but unfortunately, they couldn't find any traces. Wu Yang's group had long since disappeared without a trace. Of course, Lei Xingfeng didn't know that the outsiders had returned. He followed Wu Yang and flew all the way. He kept asking questions like a curious baby. "Ancestor, the forbidden area is very dangerous, but you can get treasures in the forbidden area. Hee, what kind of treasures can you usually get?" Wu Yang said patiently, "You know the star python records, right?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Of course I know." Wu Yang said, "In the beginning, the star python record came for the forbidden area. Many of the cultivation techniques and skills we learned were obtained from the forbidden area. You should be able to understand the benefits of the forbidden area." Lei Xingfeng said in surprise, "Ah, is that true?" Gucci said, Hee, you can say it's true, but you can also say it's false. Actually, there are many theories on the path of cultivation and how it is passed down. This is one of them." Wu Yang said, "Of course, but we can't tell if it's true or false." Gucci said with a smile, "Yes, we can't figure it out. But it doesn't matter." Wu Yang said with a smile, "Regardless of whether it's true or not, everyone knows the benefits of the forbidden area. Even if it's very dangerous, there are still people who rush in." Lei Xingfeng said, "Wealth moves people's hearts." Gucci said, "This isn't wealth. No matter what kind of wealth it is, it won't make cultivators rush in." Lei Xingfeng shook his head slightly. Gucci didn't understand what he meant. People were greedy, and these forbidden areas were enough to make people greedy. He said with a smile, "I don't dare to go to the big, forbidden areas. Are there any small forbidden areas that haven't been completely solved?" Wu Yang shook his head and said, "I'm not sure about that. There should be." Lei Xingfeng said, "I think it's worth it to be able to see the forbidden areas this time." He had already elevated the forbidden land to an extremely high position. He had a strange premonition that he seemed to be fated with the forbidden land. Of course, this was only a feeling he had. He was extremely looking forward to the forbidden land. Wu Yang said, "Feng, we're just going to take a look and experience it. Any forbidden area is extremely dangerous, even if it's a small one. It's really easy to kill a monarch in a forbidden area, no matter how big or small it is. You're a 9th ring sage. You're considered a master in our place. But here, you're really nothing. After entering the forbidden area, you have to listen to my orders. Do you understand?" Lei Xingfeng said very honestly, "Yes, Grandmaster. I understand. Don't worry, I won't do anything stupid." He still understood that if he didn't seek death, he wouldn't die. Wu Yang was very satisfied with Lei Xingfeng's attitude. Although this person was young, he was very wise and rational. He wouldn't do those inexplicable things. In fact, he didn't see the madness in Lei Xingfeng's bones. That was unique to the thunder attribute. It was just that Lei Xingfeng suppressed it so well that it couldn't be seen at all. From the beginning of his cultivation until now, Lei Xingfeng had many impulses. Those were destructive impulses. But before they could appear, he would forcibly suppress them and deal with them very rationally. This was also the benefit of having lived 2 lives. He wouldn't act according to his own temperament like a young person. Gucci was even more satisfied. Lei Xingfeng was a disciple that he had received by chance. The reason was that Lei Xingfeng's aptitude was too amazing. No matter which monarch saw him, they would definitely want to take him in. A good disciple could bring countless benefits. Some of the effects were already visible. After a few days of trekking, Lei Xingfeng could only sigh. This world was too big. With his flying speed, this distance wasn't short. As far as the eye could see, there were primeval forests and extremely tall, snowy mountains. There were countless rushing rivers and all kinds of animals. It was an eye-opener for him. Of course, along the way, Lei Xingfeng also saw some flashes of light on the ground. He knew that it was some kind of precious plant or mineral vein buried in the ground. However, he didn't have the time to go down and check, picking and excavating. He could only follow Wu Yang and fly into the distance. Along the way, they didn't see a single cultivator or outsider. Similarly, they didn't see any star beasts or wild beasts. There were some blind eagles and condors that would sneak up on them, but they were all casually killed by them. There wasn't too much danger. With Wu Yang and the team, although they couldn't sweep through everything here, the four of them were enough to clear out any obstacles they encountered. Even if they couldn't win, escaping wasn't a problem. Around the morning of the 7th day, Wu Yang stopped. He looked at a mountain peak in the distance and said, "Snow Rice Peak, ha, we're finally here." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Is Snow Rice Peak the forbidden area?" Wu Yang shook his head and said, "No, it's not the forbidden area. Snow Rice Peak is the entrance to the forbidden area. This forbidden area has been explored by many people. It's considered a relatively safe forbidden area. It's just that until now, no one has entered the core area." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Is it dangerous?" Wu Yang said, "It's not dangerous. It's just that we can't break the defense and enter." Lei Xingfeng didn't have the concept of not being able to enter. He couldn't think of anything that could stop a heaven monarch. He said, "Maybe we'll know once we enter." Why can't we enter? It was a bit of a mouthful, but everyone understood. Even though they saw Snow Rice Peak, they still flew for more than an hour before arriving at the foot of Snow Rice Peak. This mountain wasn't big. Why was it named Snow Rice Peak? Snow rice was a kind of food. It was pure white, flat on one side, and protruding on the other side. The Snow Rice Peak in front of them was like a piece of snow rice placed horizontally. Therefore, it was named Snow Rice Peak. Half of the peak was covered in snow and ice. The biting cold wind blew. Wu Yang and the other three stood at the peak of Snow Rice Peak. Standing at the peak of Snow Rice Peak, they couldn't see the forbidden area. The four of them had to climb over it. On the other side of Snow Rice Peak was the real entrance to the forbidden area. The four of them stopped for a while and flew down from the peak. Soon, they arrived at the entrance of the forbidden area. This was a primeval forest. A rapid river flowed through the forest. Lei Xingfeng saw two huge statues standing on both sides of the river. They were black statues that were hundreds of meters tall. They looked like two unknown monsters that jumped up from the river at the same time. They formed a huge arch door frame. Wu Yang said, "These statues are two water star beasts. Hee, they are very ugly. The arched door formed by the two water star beasts is the entrance. You can't enter from any other place. A phone, you can check it out." Lei Xingfeng flew above the forest and towards the forbidden area. Suddenly, he felt like he had entered a ball of glue. His whole body was trapped, and he couldn't enter no matter how hard he tried. Suddenly, dense electric arcs appeared all over his body. His body became lighter, and he immediately retreated. Back at the river, Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, "I can't see it. I can't touch it. But I don't know what it is. It seems to be very powerful." Wu Yang smiled. "It's not just powerful. Even a Dao Lord can't force his way in. I don't know how it's made. If we can learn it, we won't need to use the hidden space. We can just draw a defensive barrier." Lei Xingfeng didn't understand. So many people have explored it. None of them have figured it out? Wu Yang said, "Yes. We can't figure out at all. It's a very mysterious barrier. A few Dao Lords once joined forces to attack a small forbidden area. The shockwaves even caused the surrounding mountains to collapse. Yet the barrier still stands." Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but click his tongue. How strong must the barrier be? Not to mention Dao Lords, even a 9th ring sage would be able to destroy a mountain if they attacked with all their might. But even a Dao Lord couldn't break through the defense. That was shocking. The defense was simply too strong. Feng Qinzong said, "If we can't find the entrance," Wu Yang said straightforwardly, "then no one can enter unless the original owner of the forbidden area returns." Lei Xingfeng said, "Is there really such a forbidden area?" Wu Yang said, "Not only is there such a place, there are many of them. There are quite a few where we can't find the entrance at all. Perhaps the owner of the forbidden area set the entrance underground or far away. Then the entire barrier is a giant shell without any gaps. Of course we can't enter. Gu Chi said, forbidden areas are actually the greatest treasures in the extraterritorial starry sky. Unfortunately, we might have a way to deal with star beasts or mang beasts, but for forbidden areas, we need a certain amount of luck to obtain some treasures. Haha, this time, your ancestral master might have had this intention when he brought you into the forbidden area. Chapter 297. Wu Yang laughed and scolded. How dare you talk to master like that? You're getting bolder. Gu Chi chuckled. Who knows? I might become your junior brother soon. Being a little bolder shouldn't be a big deal. Wu Yang said, dream on. When you become a heavenly monarch, I'll probably be a down monarch. You'd better be my disciple. But Feng Shenzong, look at a Feng's cultivation speed. Be careful. You call him martial nephew now, but who knows when you'll be calling him martial uncle. He. Feng Shenzong's jaw dropped. How is that possible? Wu Yang laughed. I once had a friend. When he was a true monarch, he took in an extremely talented disciple. In less than 10 years, the disciple became his junior brother. And then, in less than 10 years, he started calling him martial uncle. Luckily, the disciple didn't want to, so they started calling each other brothers. Feng Shenzong couldn't help but smile bitterly. He also saw some signs. Lei Xingfeng's cultivation speed was as fast as the wind. Almost every time he saw him, his cultivation had improved greatly. Gu Chi's face was bitter. Master, you don't have to hit me like that. My talent isn't bad. Wu Yang laughed heartily. He felt great after dealing a small blow to Gu Chi. Lei Xingfeng looked at the arched door formed by the two water star beast statues. Ancestor, where do we go in? Fly in? Wu Yang shook his head. We need a wooden raft. When we go in, we can fly out. Lei Xingfeng said, there's such a rule? I just happen to have a small boat. I don't need a raft. As someone who lived in the Wanxi continent and had a hidden space, how could he not have a small boat? In fact, he had two small boats in his hidden space. They were both obtained in the Wanxi continent. With a wave of his hand, a small wooden boat appeared on the riverbank. Wu Yang laughed. Not bad, not bad. You even have a small boat. Let's go. A small boat was obviously better than a raft. The four of them got on the boat. Lei Xingfeng took out the steel paddle he had left behind and inserted it into the water. With a light pull, the boat entered the middle of the river and rushed down. The direction of the water was the arch door. Wu Yang said, just hold on. Let the water take us into the forbidden area. Xian Feng paddled the boat in the middle of the river, not needing him to paddle. The boat moved along the river, its speed becoming faster and faster. In just a few minutes, it had already reached the arched door, the sound of water becoming louder and louder. Xian Feng shouted, we're going in. That small boat shot out like an arrow, instantly passing through the arched door. At that moment, Xian Feng's eyes lit up. Holy sh*t. What a good place. Following the flow of the water, they entered the forbidden area. The scenery before them had completely changed. Countless colorful flowers and trees shone brightly under the sunlight. On the ground and on the water, there were colorful petals. As the breeze blew, a faint floral fragrance wafted into the air, making one feel relaxed and happy. Wu Yang shouted, Feng, listen to my command. Lei Xingfeng woke up from his daze. His forehead was sweating. He was so scared that his heart was beating wildly. Good God! Left turn. With a shout from Wu Yang, Xian Feng forcefully pulled the oar and the small boat entered an inconspicuous river. One must know that he had seen 7 or 8 small rivers. If he was not careful, he would have entered another one. With lingering fear in his heart, he spoke, What's the point? Wu Yang said, if you make a mistake, you will be in trouble. If you want to get out, it will take you at least 10 days. Lei Xingfeng wiped his cold sweat and said, Grandmaster, you should have said so earlier. I don't know anything about the situation here. He was dazzled by the beautiful scenery. He was distracted and almost missed it. The current in the river was very fast, and the boat was also very fast. If he was not careful, he would be in big trouble. Wu Yang said, I used to use a raft, so it was relatively slow. Who knew that the boat would be so fast? I almost missed it. Well, cheer up. Lei Xingfeng said, How should we go? He was already dazzled. It was really beautiful here. The riverbank was full of flowers and trees. They were in full bloom. He could see forks in the road from time to time. He did not know where to go. What? How is it possible? It's always in full bloom. Lei Xingfeng said in disbelief. Wu Yang said, What's so strange about that? The flowers and trees here are always in full bloom, but never bear fruit. The last time I was here, it was the same. This is a small maze. Feng Qinzong did not understand. This kind of maze should be useless. As long as we fly, we can find the way. Wu Yang laughed. Try flying? Forget it, don't fly. You can't fly here. You can't fly up. Feng Qinzong did not believe it. He said, Let me try. His body was only 3 or 4 meters in the air when he fell into the cabin. He rubbed his head and said, Ugh, I really can't fly. Wu Yang laughed. Don't think about going ashore. Going ashore here is very troublesome. Although you won't die, you will be forced into the water. Lei Xingfeng praised. The little forbidden area is really magical. Gucci said, It's not just magical. It can kill. Wu Yang said, So, we're just exploring the periphery. This time, we don't need to go deep. The most important thing is to let a phone experience what the little forbidden area is. This treatment was too good. A lord of heaven accompanied Lei Xingfeng to see the little forbidden area, to see the secrets that only monarchs were qualified to know. This was Wu Yang's way of repaying Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng did not know how many forks they took. He was a little dizzy. He tried very hard to remember. Fortunately, after cultivation, his memory had been strengthened. No matter how complicated the terrain was, he could still remember it after walking it once. Soon, the boat docked at a relatively flat riverbank. The shore was still full of flowers. Lei Xingfeng said, We're going ashore here? This is too deceitful. Those who didn't know would continue to walk along the riverbank, because this place gave people the illusion that they had to find a different place to enter the forbidden area. In fact, along the riverbank, everywhere was filled with flowers and trees. If no one led the way, they wouldn't even know that this was the entrance. Wu Yang said, This little forbidden area has always been very famous. Countless monarchs and lords of heaven have come here. They all got lost in the river and could only leave in the end. Coming ashore here is the first time it was discovered. Let's go up. He jumped onto the shore. Gucci and Feng Qinzong also jumped onto the shore. Lei Xingfeng put away the boat and also went ashore. Lei Xingfeng felt something was different when he came ashore. Wu Yang looked at Lei Xingfeng in amusement and said, Can you feel it? This was a very strange power that could slow down your speed. Lei Xingfeng only took 2 steps before he understood. He said, We can't increase our speed here. Wu Yang laughed. That's right. At most, you can walk quickly here, but you can't run. Everyone follow me. It's actually not a big problem. Just walk obediently and don't run. This was the experience of being a pioneer. It was learned from many lessons. The 4 of them walked step by step into the flowering trees. Lei Xingfeng finally had the time to observe the trees here. The trees here weren't very tall, only about 10 meters or so. The trunks were dark and gave the feeling that they were as hard as steel. The trunks were covered in scars, and the branches were almost the same. If there were no flowers on the tree, it would be ugly. But when the flowers bloomed on the branches, the tree was exceptionally beautiful. The flowers here were the size of bowls, like peonies in full bloom. The colors were almost 1 color per tree. The flowers on each tree were different colors. Some were snow white, some were golden, and some were crimson like the sunset. All kinds of flowers bloomed proudly. When a breeze blew, the petals fell. There were petals nearly a foot thick on the ground. Stepping on them was like walking on a thick carpet. Lei Xingfeng didn't know what kind of tree this was, nor what kind of flower this was, but such a beautiful scene was intoxicating. He couldn't stop praising, Beautiful. It's really beautiful. Feng Shenzong was also mesmerized by the flowers. He said, "Senior brother, this place is too beautiful. I've been to many places, but this is the first time I've seen such beautiful scenery." Lei Xingfeng said, "There seem to be more red flowers here." Wu Yang laughed. A Feng is about to guess the secret of this place. Huh. Lei Xingfeng immediately understood. He said, "Could it be that we use the color of the flowers to determine how to enter this place?" Wu Yang laughed, smart. "That's right. That's how it is. If there are white flowers on the banks of the river, you can enter. If there are flowers of other colors, you don't have to care." Huh. Red flowers are the most abundant on the banks of the river. A Feng guessed correctly. Lei Xingfeng said, "Good idea. Simple and easy. As long as you know the secret, entering and leaving this forbidden area is as easy as flipping your hand." Wu Yang sighed. It took a lot of effort to find this method. Haha, that's why this forbidden area is also called the Forbidden Flowering Forbidden Area. While talking, the four of them finally passed through the flower forest. There was a flat green grassland. In the distance, there was a bamboo forest. They could vaguely see the corners of the houses in the bamboo forest. The grassland seemed to have just been trimmed. It was flat and lush. Lei Xingfeng said in disbelief, This grassland has been trimmed by someone? How is that possible?" Wu Yang said, "It seems impossible, but the last time I came here, it was like this. I'm sure no one has trimmed it." Lei Xingfeng was once again amazed. He said, "What a magical place. I thought this place would be full of ruins. I didn't expect it to be like this." As he spoke, he wanted to step onto the grassland. Wu Yang grabbed Lei Xingfeng and said, "You can't go up. It's dangerous." Lei Xingfeng was stunned. The grassland is dangerous?" Wu Yang picked up a stone on the ground and threw it. Everyone stared at the stone. Before the stone landed on the grassland, it was completely shattered by an invisible force. In an instant, it turned into a pile of stone powder and drifted away. Chapter 298. Lei Xingfeng was shocked and said, "Damn, amazing." Wu Yang said, "If you land on the grass, you'll be like that stone. You won't be able to block it unless you're a monarch. If you don't handle it well, you'll also be injured." Lei Xingfeng said, "Then how do we get past it?" Wu Yang said, "If you walk along the side, you can still get past it." Haha, it's simple. Back then, there were people who weren't convinced and insisted on going through the grass. In the end, they suffered greatly. If they weren't strong enough, they might have died inside. The four of them followed Wu Yang and walked along the edge of the grass. Soon, they went around a large patch of green grass. Xi and Feng looked at the jade-like bamboo forest in shock. This was different from the bamboo of his previous world. The appearance was the same, but the texture of the bamboo was completely different. It didn't seem like a plant, but more like a jade carving, sparkling and translucent, giving off a glass-like feeling. Xi and Feng spoke. Even he wasn't sure if this was bamboo or not. Wu Yang said, "This is jade bamboo. Once cut down, it will turn into stone. It's a very interesting plant, but it doesn't have much use. And some people make it into bamboo cups or something." He said without care. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Can it be cut down?" Wu Yang said, "Of course it can be cut down. It's not like it's a treasure." Lei Xingfeng suddenly became excited and said, "I like it. Since it can be cut down, everyone wait for me for a while. I'll cut down some. Haha, since we're in the forbidden area, I want to get something special, even if it's not a cultivation material." It wouldn't be Lei Xingfeng's character if he didn't collect this kind of thing. This pillar was too beautiful. How could he let it go? There was a saying in his previous life, "You can't live without bamboo." That was just ordinary bamboo, but this bamboo could be a work of art. He started to cut down the bamboo. He chose the ones with tall branches and beautiful appearance. He had the hidden lens space, so every time he cut down a thick bamboo, he didn't bother to repair it and just put it in his hidden lens space. He could deal with it later. Wu Yang, Gucci, and Lei Xingfeng looked on in shock. Lei Xingfeng was like a mouse in a granary. He swept through everything. Not only did he cut down the bamboo, but he also took out a wooden bucket and dug out a lot of bamboo roots to transplant. After a full hour of work, Lei Xingfeng finally stopped. He was a little embarrassed to make his master and grandmaster wait. This period of busyness allowed Xian Feng to obtain a few hundred high-quality jade bamboos. Other than that, he also dug up a few large barrels of bamboo roots and soil, which he planned to transplant. Although Weiyang didn't understand why his little grand-disciple was so crazy, he wouldn't blame him, since the child liked it, then let him do as he pleased. Lei Xingfeng ran out of the bamboo forest and said regretfully, "What a pity. If I had time, I would have cut down the entire bamboo forest." Gucci said, "Why do you like this kind of thing?" "Haha, but this jadeite bamboo has an interesting characteristic. Once it loses its moisture, it turns into stone. A very beautiful stone." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "It's this characteristic that attracts people." "All right, Grandmaster, sorry for the delay. Let's continue." Wu Yang nodded. "It's fine. How about I give you a little more time to cut down more?" Feng Qinzong couldn't help but curl his lips. This was too much of a pamper. Lei Xingfeng laughed. "No need. This is enough." The key point was that he dug out a bunch of bamboo roots and had the opportunity to cultivate them. There would be a lot of jadeite bamboo in the future. Wu Yang nodded and said, "Let's go through here." Soon, he led the group to a small path paved with jadeite bamboo. They followed the path into the bamboo forest, turning left and right. After walking for a few minutes, the four of them walked out of the jadeite bamboo forest. There was a small bamboo pavilion built with jadeite bamboo. Who knew how many years it had been? But the pavilion still looked brand new. This was an extremely exquisite pavilion, as if it was carved out of jade. It was smooth and warm to the touch. It definitely had the texture of high-quality jade. Lei Xingfeng looked around. Other than this exquisite jadeite bamboo pavilion, it was surrounded by water. The water was so clear that you could see the bottom. They could see big fish swimming in the water, all of them a few feet long. In the middle of the pavilion was a small round table. There was nothing else. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Can we fly?" Wu Yang laughed. "Of course not. Flying is absolutely forbidden here. Once we leave the ground, we will be immediately suppressed." "Ha!" Lei Xingfeng looked at the house not far away and said, "Can we wade through the water?" Wu Yang laughed. "You can't either. Once you enter the water, you will be trapped. You won't be able to take a single step." "Ha!" Feng Qinzong couldn't help but ask, "Then how do we get there?" Lei Xingfeng, on the other hand, was looking at the round table in the pavilion. He thoughtfully pressed on the table and tested it. Then, he casually turned the table. With a circle, a small bridge made of jadeite bamboo rose from the bottom of the water. He laughed. Interesting. He didn't think that turning the table would result in this result. Wu Yang's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He said, "Not bad, not bad. You found the key point in such a short time." Lei Xingfeng laughed. It was just a coincidence. He thought of the so-called mechanism changes in his previous life, so he tried it. He didn't think it would be correct. Wu Yang said, "This pavilion has been difficult for many people. No matter what, they couldn't get there." Lei Xingfeng said, "The things inside should have been gone a long time ago." Wu Yang said, "That's for sure. I don't know how many people have been here. It's definitely cleaner than your house, haha." Lei Xingfeng muttered, "My house is cleaned every day. How could it not be clean?" The four of them walked along the bamboo bridge and across the pond. Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Actually, if I use a boat, I can get there too." Wu Yang was suddenly stunned. He suddenly slapped his head and said, "Yes, you can definitely get there with a boat. What a pity, what a pity." Inside the bamboo forest was a courtyard surrounded by a pond. It wasn't very big. There were 3 rooms in the front and back. The rooms were empty. Everything inside had been taken away. Lei Xingfeng couldn't believe the cleanliness of the room. Even if he cleaned it every day, it wouldn't be so clean. He reached out and touched a corner. There was no dust on his hand. Wu Yang said, "Don't touch it. There seems to be a self-cleaning method here. There won't be a speck of dust. It's just that none of us know of this method." Lei Xingfeng sighed. "It's really advanced. Amazing." The bird Buddha stuck its head out and said, "Why did you call me?" Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but smile bitterly. He couldn't say it was amazing right now. If he did, the blackbird would come up. He said, "It's none of your business. Go back to sleep." The blackbird was now completely suppressed by Lei Xingfeng. It said helplessly, "You're bullying me again." Then it hid its head in its wings. Feng Shenzong was a little confused. "If there's nothing here, why did we come in?" Wu Yang said, "We had to come in. If we want to enter the outer circle of the forbidden area, we have to go through this small courtyard. There's a transportation platform here. Only through this platform can we truly enter the forbidden area." Lei Xingfeng suddenly understood. "No wonder we had to come in. Haha, I thought it was strange too. This place should have been swept many times. Why will we still come here? There's a transportation platform here." They followed the path to the center of the courtyard. There was a white stone platform. It was very eye-catching. It was 1 foot above the ground and was shaped like a 5-pointed star. There were grooves in each of the 5 corners. One look, and you could tell that yin rings could be inserted. As expected, Wu Yang took out 5 yin rings and said, "Everyone stand on it. I'll activate it." He inserted the yin rings into the grooves on the white stone platform. Lei Xingfeng was curious. "We use yin rings here too?" Wu Yang said, "Of course. What else did you think we would use?" "A Feng, many of our cultivation methods were obtained from the forbidden area." Lei Xingfeng said, So we're from the same lineage?" Wu Yang said, "Probably not, but our cultivation methods are inextricably linked to the forbidden area." The white stone platform suddenly glowed. In an instant, the surroundings changed. Because it was a short-distance transportation, it was very fast. The speed of the transportation was almost less than a second. If it wasn't for the change of scenery, they wouldn't have felt anything. Here, they saw the traces of battle. Countless houses had collapsed, and the ground was a mess. Lei Xingfeng said, "Is this from the ancient times, or from the battles of the present?" Wu Yang said, "Of course it's from the ancient times. With our strength, it's very difficult to destroy a single blade of grass or tree here. I don't even know what methods they use to protect it. It's hard to understand." Lei Xingfeng said, "Even a sky monarch can't destroy it." Wu Yang said, "If I make a move, I can barely break it. But that's only possible if I target something. The forbidden area is still a mystery to us. We can't solve it for now." Xi and Feng couldn't help but be shocked. With Wu Yang's strength, he was actually able to barely break through the defense of this place. This was truly inconceivable. One must know that Wu Yang's strength was definitely at the top. Wu Yang said, "There are houses here, about a few hundred acres. Someone found a lot of good stuff here. It's just that this place is a mess, and there's no time to search carefully. This is already the outer circle of the forbidden area. It's not surprising that there are some good things here. It's just a matter of luck." It could be seen that the buildings here used to be very tall. After they collapsed, they were still as tall as a small mountain. It was indeed very difficult to find anything useful. Moreover, the remnants on the surface had long been picked up. If they wanted to find something useful, they would have to dig through the ruins. Lei Xingfeng looked carefully and was a little disappointed. For the time being, he couldn't find any signs. He smiled bitterly and said, "Ancestor, let's search here last. Let's go to other places first. How about it?" Wu Yang also knew that they wouldn't search carefully. After thinking for a while, he said, "We can go, but everyone has to be careful, especially a Feng. With your strength, if there's no one to guide you in the forbidden area, it's almost impossible to move around. You might even die in there. So follow me closely." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.